We welcome you to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the motor racing capital of the world. Speedway, Indiana, as we take you on a tour of the 2.5-mile oval. You can see that as of now, the rain has stopped. The track drying process is continuing, and we are hoping to get race cars on the track today as we attempt for the second day in a row to go for the pole, because it is pole day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reid, alongside of Scott Goodyear and Rusty Wallace, and if you'll allow us, we'll wish everybody a happy Mother's Day, but also a special one to Rusty's wife, Patty, and Scott's wife, Leslie, and my wife, Carla, and it's her birthday also, so I've got some major sucking up to do. She turns 29 today. Am I doing okay so far?
You do real good.
And Patty, Rusty's wife, gave both of them their son, Steve, gave you guys a beautiful present. He not only set the pole with a record run, he won the race, the ARCA race last night in Kentucky, so congratulations,
Thanks
Dad.
very much. Appreciate it.
All right, let's get you caught up on the business at hand. If you were with us yesterday, it was a total washout. We won't go back there very much. We just want to move forward. And right now we're keeping our fingers crossed that we're going to get race cars on the track here in the not-too-distant future. In fact, let's hear from the man who is in charge of that. That's Bryan Barnhart. He's with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Marty. Bryan is the president and chief operating officer of the Indy Racing League. He has to make those decisions, and he's keeping one eye on the clouds and one eye on the racetrack. And Bryan, first of all, the clouds. What's your staff telling you about the forecast today?
Well, luckily, I think it's looking a little better than we've seen the last couple of days. It's still very unsettled, but the radar doesn't show anything major coming on board, and the track drying process is coming along, and I think we're going to get cars pretty soon.
What kind of schedule would we be able to have if we don't get another shower, although it's darkening a little bit behind the track here? If we stay dry and the track gets dry the next little bit, what about a schedule for the afternoon?
Well, I think right now we're looking at maybe getting the track by 12:30 to 12:45, right in that range. If that's the case, we'll give the first half of the qualifying draw a 35-minute practice session, the second half of the qualifying draw a 35-minute practice session, and then we'll be able to begin qualifying about 30 minutes after that. So under that time frame, look for qualifications to begin around 2:15.
Now, if we did not get the entire line done for pole qualifying, or the top 22 today, everyone didn't get one chance, what opportunity would we have to go beyond the normal 6 o'clock cutoff time?
Well, I think that's something we'd definitely take a look at, especially because Indiana's now observing daylight savings time. We've got to be careful about the temperature issue with the ambient and the track temp needing to be 50 degrees and make sure that doesn't fall off too much by extending beyond 6 o'clock. And if that's a call that gets made, it needs to be made before we send the first car. So if qualifying does begin around 2:15, that determination would be made before we begin the session.
And the final question we needed you to be able to answer is, if we don't get qualifying in for some reason, hopefully the rains will not come back, but if we don't get it in today, what happens tomorrow, Tuesday? When will the next session take place as far as pole qualifying to field to field?
Well, I don't think we've got an answer to that yet. We'd work very much hand in hand with Joey Chitwood and everybody from the Speedway, take into all considerations the fans and the competitors and the teams, and make a decision at that point in time. Hopefully we're just going to focus on one day at a time, and right now the weather looks like we're going to get some race cars and get in what we need to get in today.
Hey, Bryan, thanks for your time, or good luck today.
Thanks, Jerry.
Bryan Barnhart hoping to get qualifying in. It's drying out here, guys. We could have the track dry in 20 to 25 minutes and maybe get this thing underway.
All right, thanks, Doc. Let's take a look at our weather right now. And remember, we have to talk a little bit about the 50-50 rule, guys.
50-50. Firestone Tires likes to see the ambient at 50, which we have, and track temperature at 50 and above, which we also have. So I think the conditions look great right now for going fast, because the wind is calm and the cloudy, overcast skies certainly give you an opportunity to make a lot of horsepower. Maybe we'll see some great times today, Marty.
All right, let's touch base with some of the teams and check in with first Jack Arute.
Well, when you talk about teams, at least thus far this season, you got to talk about this team right here, Team Marlboro-Penske, because they have done incredibly since they hit the Brickyard here at the beginning of practice. Led by Tim Cindric and Tim, both Helio and Sam Hornish Jr. have been at the top of the speed charts. Is there something special that you're holding back for qualifying, or was that all you got?
Well, hopefully it's not what we have, but I think there's quite a few other guys out there that haven't shown what they have either. So the conditions are going to be a little bit different today. It might be a little slower than what they've seen in the past 2 or 3 days, but I guess time will tell.
Now, Helio Castroneves has climbed the fence twice. He's won 2 Indianapolis 500s, but the pole position is what we're going for today, Helio. And I just want to let you know, it's your teammate that's been the fastest the first 3 days.
Oh, really? Thanks.
Yeah. How do you change that?
Well, today is the real day. You know, we thought it was yesterday and or Friday, but basically today is the real day. Like team said, now we're gonna put everything what we think is best, and let's see if we'll be number 6, number 3, and hopefully nobody else.
Well, now, I understand that you two have been psyching each other out a little bit as team drivers. You know, I saw an interview that was done, and you were holding a sign behind the interview as they were interviewing your teammate saying Helio #1. You know, I mean, is there a little back and forth going on between you two guys for the pole?
I want to make sure that I think positive all the time. You know, even behind him, I'm still thinking positive. But well, the good news is Sam and I have been sharing a lot of information this year, and I think the atmosphere in the team also get better. I mean, 3 years already together, so it's good. Hopefully we'll keep this good qualifying between us.
So Sam is #1.
Not right now. I mean, well, so far in practice he was, but hopefully not gonna be for long.
Vince, I tried the who's on first, what's on second, and ended up with, I don't know.
Well, you get that. Not many people showing their hand here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today. One of the big stories, of course, last year's Indianapolis 500, Danica Patrick, and the success that she had, becoming the first woman to ever lead the race here at Indianapolis, finished 4th. I'm with her engineer, Leto, and Ray. It hasn't been quite as fast this month. You guys have been kind of searching a little bit. Why?
Well, we're not really sure. I think if we knew, we'd have it fixed by now. But yeah, it's a little bit different game for us this year with everybody with the same engine. We had a good open test, but came back here, and the car's different this week. Right now, it's a completely different game today. We're just you know, a short practice session, get it in the show today.
You mentioned the open test. You guys were very fast during the open test in April. Did that give you a little false sense of security at all?
Well, it's false now. Then we thought it was real, but. Yeah, I guess it did. You know, we're running the same car we did the last 2 years. We've had the fastest car in the field the last 2 years in a row, and, you know, we were hoping to come back and do that again. Right now, you know, we know the important thing's the race, so today's all about getting securely in the field and coming back this week and working on that race setup.
Wish you the best, Ray.
Thanks a lot.
Let's go upstairs to Marty.
All right, thanks, Vince. Let's take a look as we reflect back over the last few years compared to this year. Remember, we've had a lot of rain all week long, and it tells the tale when we look at the number of total laps, Scott.
Even when I was driving here, a lot of times we ended up losing laps because of the rain, but the pressure that's actually on all the drivers right now with a short 35-minute session, that is the one that puts the pressure on the drivers and the engineers to get everything right.
Mental side of this going into today?
There is a mental side, Marty. I'll tell you, these guys have not had much practice whatsoever. When it comes time to qualify, they're going to get 3 warm-up laps, and every single lap they're going to have to build confidence as a driver. And when that green flag drops, they got to have their confidence totally built up, because if you're going to go out there and run 227-mile-per-hour laps, you got to have a lot of confidence.
Well, let's give you a perfect example of how the laps or lack of laps can affect one team. Give you a comparison from last year. Jamie Little has the story.
That's right. We just saw the graphic, Marty, and these guys have run just a little over half of what they did at this time last year. And one man that was hoping to benefit from signing with the team at the beginning before the month started is Philippe Geophone. Now, last year you got the call on bump day, Felipe. 2 hours basically you had in the car. You turned 49 laps, bumped your way into the field. Now this year you come out and you've only gotten 40 laps in the car. Where do you guys stand if we qualify today?
Well, I mean, our goal is still is go out and try to qualify. You know, even though we didn't put many laps as we want to, I think the car felt pretty good. We never actually had a chance to trim it out, and so we'll see if in a half an hour we can do something good, and then we'll go and try to qualify.
Well, what is your strategy right now? Brian Barnhart said you guys will be on the track 11 or 12:45 today. What are you going to go out and concentrate on for those 30 minutes?
Well, now at first you got to go out and feel comfortable again in the car and see how the track is after these few days, you know, raining. And then we really have to start to trim it out and get some speed out of the car.
How are your nerves right now compared to last year on qualifying day for you?
Oh, I'm more relaxed today, you know. Last year was a tough day, you know. At the end, everything worked out good, you know, but I'm a lot more relaxed right now.
All right, Philippe Geophone, the 14 ABC Supply Company car. He will hopefully go for the run today. Guys.
All right, thanks, Jamie. As you see, there's some good news there. Race cars coming out of the garage area. Can that mean that not far away we'll see Buddy Rice, Danica Patrick, and the other cars and drivers out at the track at Indianapolis? Well, stay with us and you'll find out here on Pole Day at the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500. The Indianapolis 500 Pole Day is brought to you by Carfax and Gillette Fusion, the best shave ever in manual and battery power. And Wendy's 4 new Frescata sandwiches. Do Wendy's. Do what tastes right. Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the clouds are hanging low, but so far the track drying continues as we are looking forward to getting cars out on the racetrack. Let's take a moment to reflect back as you take a look there, back in the garage area. That's Buddy Rice. We'll talk to him in a moment. If you remember, just a few years ago in 2004, it was a rain-shortened race then, 180 laps. Buddy didn't mind at all taking the checkered flag under yellow as he won his first ever Indy 500. And then this scary moment last year that put him out of the race.
Unfortunately, not able to defend his title, really put him in a bummer state because 2 weeks later he was back in car at Texas.
And then this, 1 year ago to the day. This time, though, he was not seriously injured, just some bumps and bruises. Let's go to Vince.
Well, we just saw a video of some good, some bad. How you feeling?
It's good. You know, I think like everybody's getting tired of standing around, ready to get going, and looks like there's a break right now in the weather, and hopefully we can get out there, get some practice in, and get this qualifying over with.
No ill effects from the incident?
No, none at all.
What's your strategy today? You guys haven't been the fastest garage in the paddock. What do you look to get done today in practice/qualifying?
Well, I think it's a lot like what Leto said. I think right now I don't think we're going to go out there and post a 2:26 time right now. So I think what we need to do is make sure we get all 3 of our cars in the field and make sure we go back to doing what we have earlier this year and just working on race setup and make sure we're strong for the race.
The qualifying format says you get 3 attempts, but with the weather being as iffy as it is, do you put a little more focus on that first attempt and let it stand?
Yeah, I think you're going to definitely have to get, I mean, no one's going to, I don't think, skip an opportunity. You want to make sure you get in. And like I said, and like what Ray said, I think our goal is right now to put all 3 cars in, get it in solidly, put solid runs in, and get ready for the race.
Yeah, he may not be a pole contender, but don't count him out on race day. He's a former winner, Buddy Rice. Marty?
All right, thanks, Vince. As you take a look, every car in the facility has that engine in its power plant, the Honda V8. As one engine supplier this year. Some think it's great, some think it's not so great. We get more from Marlowe Claim.
In 2004 and 2005, it was pretty easy to guess who was going to win an IRL race. Just look at the badge on the engine. In the last 2 years, Honda won an astonishing 79% of the races, while only providing engines for about half the field. That advantage disappeared in 2006, when every team began running a Honda power plant.
Am I happy that, everybody has a Honda now? Not really.
That doesn't mean that you just walk in and all of a sudden you're quickest, but at least you know that you're not starting a 100-meter race with a 15-meter deficit.
In some ways, I think we relied a little bit too much on Honda. Being at a different team, you can perhaps see that.
While Honda teams used their horsepower advantage to rack up impressive stats the past 2 years, the other teams were forced to find gains in the chassis and setup. That hard work is paying off now that all the teams run the same engine. Penske and Ganassi, who ran Toyotas the last 2 years, have led 93% of the laps and won every race in 2006.
It's more like an advantage now. We've worked so hard after the last couple of years to find little things. I think we sort of jumped back up and we're back to where we should be.
How much more excited are you about the 500 this year compared to last year now that everybody has Hondas and that disadvantage is gone?
A lot. A lot. It's incredible. I do believe also when a team dominates like we did, and then you get so far ahead of other teams, and then they get the same engine. They definitely work in areas that we didn't.
I think AGR is still very strong. They've been up in the mix, but it's going to take them a little bit more just to catch on and have to dig a little deeper.
It's easy to assume the IRL has become similar to IROC, identically prepared cars designed to showcase a driver's skill. Although every car competes with a Honda motor, Firestone tires, and most use a Dallara chassis, the drivers agree calling the IRL a spec series is a gross injustice.
I guarantee you my Dallara isn't exactly the same as Penske's Dallara or Ganassi's Dallara because we develop it differently. We might try different setups, different geometries, all kinds of things to try and make our car that much better. So it's a Dallara in name, but really they should call it an AGR Dallara or a Penske Dallara because they're not the same cars.
Of course, everybody says the cars are equal. That's fallacy. They're all different. And certain teams have more assets and more history. They can spend more time on their cars, but the differential with a car is a lot smaller than the differential was in the past with the engine. So it's just a question of effort.
That effort is measured in the blink of an eye. Teams used to look for gains that were a tenth of a second. Now it's a challenge to find a hundredth of a second.
It's down to the driver, it's down to the engineer, it's down to the team, pit stops, it's down to all of those other things.
Teams have different budgets. Different budgets can hire better people. Good people cost money. They can hire a very expensive engineer, and that can change your life because he can make a better car for you.
It's the little things, and you know, I'm not allowed to say one thing that we do, and I wouldn't, but it's the best way I can sum it up is attention to detail.
The small details, that's what's going to make a big difference.
For instance, what would a small detail be?
I cannot tell you.
Great answer, Helio. All right, let's take a look at the cost of the engine lease program. If you run the entire season, it's $1.3 million. If you run the entire month of May, it's $250,000. Now, if you're a second-week qualifier, which means you get your engine next Wednesday, it only costs you $115,000. Now, that's still a lot of money, but a lot less than it used to be. Let's get more from Jack Arute.
Well, Marty, one of those teams that has that $115,000 Honda lease is PDM Racing, that has Thiago Mad Dog Medeiros, a veteran of the Indy Pro Series and the USAC Silver Crown Series, getting set to sit in the cockpit. How tough is it to wait out the first week?
I mean, I was not expecting this to happen at all. I mean, things came like a little late, and we got everything together Saturday, and then Monday I was running the rookie orientation program, so everything came out like really fast. Took my time to get up to speed. Everything went well, and I'm very excited to be here.
Jerry, one of the great things about this engine lease program is it allows teams like PDM Racing to come back and compete at their beloved Indianapolis 500.
Exactly, Jack, and I'm with Robert Clarke, who's the president of HPD, and everyone's bragging about what a great job Honda's done, not only keeping the cost down this year, but the engines are so close in horsepower. What is the range of the engines you're supplying all these teams?
They're all between plus or minus less than 1%.
That's probably 3 to 5 horsepower range. I mean, and you guys, let's explain. HPD in California, you've partnered up with Ilmor in Detroit to build all these engines. And now, what happens after they're built? Where do they go? How do they get here?
The engines that we build at HPD in California, we ship to Ilmor in Detroit because of its geographic proximity to Indy and where all the teams are. And so they hold the pool of engines. Then the IRL, we give the IRL a list of engines that are available by serial number. Then the IRL takes those and assigns a team to those serial numbers, and then we deliver them to the team. So it's completely impartial. We don't know where the engines are going, and the IRL doesn't know one engine from another.
And they're not privy to the horsepower numbers, so unless Les McTaggart pulls a number arbitrarily out, says engine number, serial number 1011 is going to go to Sam Hornish, you don't know where it's going, and the teams don't know the horsepower number, so it's a double fail-safe system.
Exactly. It works very well, I think.
Well, you guys have done a great job. You've doubled the engine life this year from 600 to 1,200 miles. No appreciable loss in horsepower, and considerably dropped the cost. By the way, Honda is going to be here through 2009. It was a great announcement on behalf of the Indy Racing League. Guys?
As you can see, cars rolling out of Gasoline Alley onto pit lane. Doing final setups. There is Tomas Scheckter and Al Unser Jr. We'll be back with more. Back here at Indianapolis, where later today, the Indianapolis 500 time trials on pole day continue on ESPN2, 6 o'clock Eastern. You'll be the first to know who's on the front row. And as you can see, preparations in the tech line continue, and there is the number 4 of Vitor Meira, his car, the Econova Panther racing machine, and there is, do you think Vitor's ready to go, fellas? I mean, he's dressed up and all set to go. And look at this. Jared Punch told us during the break, these guys are all the way from Brazil. They're big fans. You can't spell victory without Vitor. And then the other one is look into the mirror and see the future. I love that one. All right, let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, Al Unser Jr. getting ready to come out for pole day. He won the pole here in 1994. He's got this serious look on his face. Al, right now, so far so good. Everybody's getting ready to go. How are the nerves right now?
They're the same as always on qualifying day. You know, we're excited to get out there, and hopefully the rain will stay away far enough that we can get some qualifications in.
Now, this is the first time you're going to actually go out for qualifying in 2 years, since 2004. How do you come out with a brand new team and a brand new setup and adapt?
Well, these are basically the same cars that I ran here in '04. The only real difference is the Honda engine, which I really like. It's got great power, and so we adapted. You know, got back in the seat or the saddle or what have you just right away.
Al Unser Jr., we're glad to see him. He's going to head out for practice here in just a few moments.
Well, and Jamie Little, there's another gentleman ready to go. He's on the golf cart and anxious to get out there. And hard to believe, it's the first time I've seen you in your driver's suit in quite some time, Tomas Scheckter.
Yeah, and it's a new Rocker Republic driver's suit as well, so I'm anxious to get out there and test it out.
Now, we just felt a couple of sprinkles here. Is that an issue for you when you get out there? We've waited so long to get the track dry.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you just feel a little bit here, you can imagine when we're going 240 miles an hour or 230 miles an hour, it feels like you got a rainstorm on your helmet. So we'll just have to see what it is. Hopefully we get some time in today and, you know, just feel the car out.
What's a qualifying effort for you that will please you today?
For sure, if I get in the top 11, I'm going to be happy. I've never qualified well at this place. I've led a lot of laps, and that's what I want to concentrate on, a good car. We really think that Penske and Ganassi have got the edge on everybody, so there's no use going out there and risking too much.
Tomas Scheckter, Vision Racing. You'll see him in car 2. Guys?
All right, Vince, thanks very much. As you can see, there is one of the cars from the team out on the line, as that's Townsend Bell's machine, as we're getting ready, about 15 minutes away from seeing cars on the track if the weather holds on. As we go there, we tell you what Indy means, but it's better if it comes from the drivers.
Well, you just don't know what Indy means.
It means coming down the front straightaway, going in turn 1, just the long straightaway, the speed, the excitement of it all.
It's hard just to say one word. Well, what is Indy for you? Amazing. When you come here, you have to come here to know what is Indy.
And when you think Indianapolis 500, you think emotional, you think milk, you think tradition, history, atmosphere at the speedway.
Speed, courage, American history, a lot of different drivers. The same play that's played out and every time, just different people, different actors in it.
It's not one thing. It's a combination of a lot of things that we race to be able to win races and to break records and to be part of history. And Indianapolis is history.
That is the most activity we have seen in pit lane in over 2 days here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as we are getting ready to open the floodgates. Oh, I don't want to use that word. But practice could be happening there, as there is Michael Andretti in the cockpit waiting for the green light. As he gets ready, let's show you the practice speeds, at least the top 10. Sam Hornish led the way this week, 226.789. And the man in the number 2 spot, Dan Wheldon, part of Target Chip Ganassi Racing. He is with Vince Welch.
Marty, we've caught up down here.
Dan
Sam
Wheldon.
Hornish walking up pit road toward his car, and as you mentioned, Sam Hornish is.
There we go. Dan, we're trying to figure out. See, you told us you were going to be out. Now we're waiting on you. Went in and checked out your new shades. What do you think? The white. You're wearing the white shades today.
No, I went into just to actually, I can reveal why I went in the truck. There's a lady that's, you know, I'm trying to stay at the top of fashion in even in the race suit and fire suit, and they've just made me some new little undershirts. So look at that. It got your name on the back. It's kind of like European soccer, right?
Well, see now.
Do you like?
Now, if you wouldn't, because they can't see that underneath your driver's suit. So, thank goodness we were standing here at this time to allow you to partially disrobe.
Yeah, you would have missed it otherwise. But no, it's just it's good for the fans. I think that we might be able to. Well, I'm going to hope that we can do some running, and it'd be great to get qualifying in. Yesterday, I saw people sitting in the grandstands when it had been raining for a long time, and it's nice to know that it didn't dampen their spirits that much, and they were still kind of focused on us. But we think at Target Chip Ganassi Racing we have very good cars, and we're excited about contending for the pole.
Contending for the pole. What about winning the pole? Will you be disappointed if you fall short of that?
Yeah, because I respect the fact that the pole's very hard to get here at Indianapolis, and I was considered, I think, one of the favourites, if not the favourite last year to get the pole. We didn't quite make that happen, and we actually ended up really bad. But at the same time, I think in a roundabout way, that's what helped me win the race. It was kind of a blessing in disguise. But we're going to work hard towards getting it. I think we have a good chance. And, if not, I mean, the big picture's the race. People remember the pole winner from the 500 for 2 weeks. They remember the winner for life.
Now let's go to another pole contender, Sam Hornish Jr. with Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Vince. We are walking up toward the Team Penske pits, and Sam, you've been the guy all month. Everyone's chasing in speed. What about the conditions today? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that it needs to stop sprinkling before we're probably going to do anything. But, you know, obviously a lot closer than we've been to being on the track for the past 3 days. So just looking forward to getting out there and seeing what happens.
Would you like, given the cool temperatures and the fact that the track hasn't had a whole lot of practice, would you rather see qualifying today, or would you rather have more track time before trying to go out and put the laps together?
Well, we feel pretty comfortable with where we're at, especially, you know, over the past couple of days that we did get on track. And, you know, honestly, the next couple of days don't look much better than today, so I think that they need to try to get it in whenever they can.
All right, good luck today.
Thank you.
Sam Hornish hopes to get it in today. A lot of the guys here would love to get qualifying in today, and so they can begin preparations for race as the week continues. Let's check in with Jack.
Jerry, especially if you're a rookie, and that is the case for Carmelo Anthony's driver of car number 91. We're talking about the newest sensation, P.J. Chesson, a veteran of the World of Outlaws, a veteran of the Indy Pro Series. What do you think about this Indy qualifying stuff?
I don't know. It's pretty hairy with the rain coming in and out like it is, but you know, the guys have been working really hard, and I think that we've gone around on setups, and I think that you know, this morning when we get out, I think we'll be okay. Get some good mile an hour out of just stand on it and turn left. I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit about the first week of practice for you with the Hemmelgarn team in the 91 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What were the biggest challenges for you, PJ?
I think just getting used to the speeds and the corner entry speeds and hitting my marks, I think, 'cause the timing here is really crucial, and you're going so much faster than anywhere else, and the corners are so tight that it's actually a challenge to hit your marks every lap, at least until you get used to it. So when your brain catches up with the rest of your body, you know, and the car and everything, I think that then you just get into a rhythm and fall in the line.
Now, I understand when Carmelo Anthony chose you, the NBA star chose you to drive this car, he said one of the mitigating circumstances is that you have more tats than he does.
Yeah, I think I told somebody the other day, I'm not really sure exactly who has more tattoos because I haven't seen him yet without his clothes on to verify this, but I think we both have quite a few, and they're very cool, so maybe you'll just get lucky and see me with all my clothes off one day.
Thanks, PJ. Guys, that was way too much information for me.
Yeah. And last count, he has 12. That's how deep we go in our stats department with Russ Thompson, our chief statistician. We've got an answer for everything, especially when you have a full day of rain like we did yesterday. Hopefully we stay dry and we have cars on track in less than 10 minutes. While we've got a moment, let's show you the schedule that we have for our broadcast here during the month of May. We'll start it off Sunday the 21st with Indy 500 Bump Day at 1 on ABC, 5 over on ESPN2. Then Carburation Day on Friday, February 26th, 3 to 5:30 p.m. And then, of course, the 90th running of the Indy 500, Sunday the 28th on noon at ABC. Let's go to Jerry.
Well, from the fastest race car drivers in the world to the fastest human in the world, it's my pleasure to be joined by Justin Gatlin, who on Friday night in Qatar set a world record in the 100 meters. Justin, 9.76 seconds. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, you came here to visit with the drivers today. Your first trip to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What are your impressions so far?
I'm excited. I'm like a little kid all over again. I'm going off 3 hours of sleep, and I'm just having fun. You know, come out here and see all these cars, learning so much about them. I'm a huge fan now.
You got a lot of records in your pocket, 6 NCAA championships. You won the national title for the University of Tennessee, a gold medal in 2004, a world title in 2005. But today you got a chance to visit with Al Unser Jr., and he showed you his race car. What did he tell you that as far as his workplace, what did you think of that?
It's great. You know, it's obviously it's a work in progress in there. You know, those guys know exactly what they're doing. And it's good to see how calm and cool collective he is with such raw power that he's steering, you know.
What's the next goal for Justin Gatlin? 9.76 seconds at 100 meters. That's unbelievable. What are you shooting for next? Where you headed?
9.73, 9.71. I want to do it in America. Bring it back to America.
That is awesome. Hey, congratulations on being the world record holder, and good to have you here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Guys, Justin Gatlin, 9.76. It takes me that long to get to the refrigerator. Let's check in with Jamie.
Very impressive, Dr. Punch. Now I'm joined by Chip Ganassi. We're patiently and eagerly awaiting this practice to begin. Scott Dixon, one of his drivers in the number 9, going out. But this year you also brought on Dan Wheldon, the defending champion. What is it like for you, Chip, to bring on a guy that you know is so capable of winning this race?
Well, you know, Jamie, it's nice because this is as close as we've been to the front for a couple years now. We feel like we have the package back to win again. We've always felt like we've had the team. We have the components to do it. We're certainly happy with Honda power. Scott Dixon's pumped up, ready to win, and of course we brought Dan on, and like you said, I mean, he's just been a breath of fresh air right from the get-go when we signed him over the winter in testing, off track, and then of course in Miami, opening up with that blowout win there in Miami. That was huge. And, of course, winning the 24 Hours of Daytona with him, it was great. I mean, things have been really good for us. And we're, you know, he's a gamer, if you know what I mean. I mean, he's pumped up for the big ones. And here's a big one today with qualifying, we hope.
Well, in practice, both of your drivers, Dan Wheldon, Scott Dixon, were showing shots of them from practice, both in the top 4 all week long. Now, everybody keeps talking about the pole is going to be a battle between you and Roger Penske. So we all think there's this huge battle going on between you two. But I understand he actually flew in your plane last night to the Darlington race. Is that true?
Well, you know, certainly we're as competitive as they get with each other, you know, but we also have to, you know, we also realize that, you know, we got to keep this IndyCar thing alive that we both love and care about, and so yeah, I mean, but he knows come today we're going to be shooting at each other here for the pole.
Little mental games going on last night in the air.
You'll never know.
He wears that poker face. Jack?
Thank you, Jamie. One of the drivers that may just squeeze himself in, forget about the front row, but right into sipping his first ever victory lane milk, which we call the champagne of Indy, is Scott Sharp. You've won the pole here before. This Delphi team starting to show some muscle. It looks as if this second year for you, the chemistry is really good with this team.
Yeah, you know, we made a lot of changes in the off season and switched the Dallara chassis going into the Homestead race, so that was a little tough for us. But, you know, I think Delphi team's really coming together. We've been looking forward to just having this track time here in May to really dissect the car, try different things, see what makes it tick. Really, it was Tuesday, Wednesday, we just worked on nothing but the race setup. So this will be the first time ever we go out and start really laying the wings down and see what kind of speed we have. And hopefully it's going to be really strong. Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be decent, and like I said, our focus is really on the race. We want to make sure no matter what, start of the 28th, that's the goal for this month, to go win that.
So as a former pole sitter, can you describe what the whole brouhaha is about when you win a pole at the Indianapolis 500?
Well, it's unlike any other pole. I mean, it's so difficult. You're such on an edge, I mean, especially this year. You know, with everyone in the Honda power, I think everyone's going to some pretty low extremes from what we've seen with the other cars to try to get every ounce of speed out of it. You know, really low downforce levels. I think today's condition, especially without the wind, really helps. You know, increase the downforce, increase the speed, but you know, to put 4 laps together is tough no matter what. You're really hanging it out there, and at the speeds we're running, I think it means so much more than any other pole does.
Vince, this is going to be my pick to take the Indy 500, but I do reserve the right to re-bracket after pole position qualifying.
Well, while Scott Sharp is standing there in his driver's suit, I'm with Arie Luyendyk Jr., who's in his civvies. I know you'd love to be out there today on a second-week engine program, so you won't be available to go out until Wednesday. What's it like for you to be kind of hanging around but unable to get in the car?
It's hard, you know. I'm very antsy. I mean, we ran the rookie test the 2 days, and then since then I've been just kind of watching everyone's times and walking around the track. So it's definitely hard as a driver, but you know, I'm really confident. The second week program for the engine lease is a great opportunity for me to get in the car at a reasonable cost, and the Target Chip Ganassi crew has really helped out me in leasing them one of their race cars. That's a top-notch race car. So I'm really looking forward to getting on the track on Wednesday.
As Arie Luyendyk Jr., extra pressure being the son of a 2-time winner here at Indianapolis?
Well, I think, you know, there's obviously pressure with that, but it's nothing like compared to last year, you know, during bump day. So the last 2 days I was in the car with the orientation, it was, you know, really relaxed. Everything went well. You know, we didn't need to feel rushed, and that's what we're going to try to do on Wednesday, just build up the speed again, and hopefully, you know, get some speed out of the car, and then work on that as the week progresses.
Well, they were really thrashing to get into the field on bump day a year ago. It'll be a much more calm approach for Arie Luyendyk Jr. this year. Marty?
All right, thanks, Vince. And as we take you back into the museum, you're looking at Arie's dad's, Arie Luyendyk Sr., his 1990 winning car that is back in the museum. Coming up, it'll be a time for us to chat with Bryan Herta here as we get ready to head on the track, hopefully getting drier here at Indy. Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we are hopefully going to get race cars onto the track not too far into the distance. But we've heard a report that we may have a few sprinkles down along the far end of the racetrack. In fact, look on our camera lens there. Not a good sign. Let's check in now with Jerry Punch.
Well, guys, early in the week, the Andretti Green teams were all hunting for some speed. They began to find it here, even though we've had some abbreviated practice. Brian, you're one of those guys in the top 10 in speed. What kind of numbers could we see if we're able to get qualifying in today?
A lot of ifs in that statement, Jerry, but I don't know. I mean, I really think we can run something in the 224s, and I don't know how that's going to put us, but, I think up to this point, I think we've had a car capable of the second row, not quite the front row. We were hoping for a little more practice time, but we've made some changes, so we might have a little more speed than what we've shown so far. I'm hoping we do, but I'm really hoping actually that this rain will go away and let us go try and prove it.
We know you're very competitive when you come to Indy, and probably one of the fiercest competitions we've ever seen you involved in occurred yesterday when you were battling your buddy Dario Franchitti here in the boxing match. Now, you're in one motorhome. There you are ferociously going after Dario, and then he's in another one. Who won the match?
You're asking the wrong guy, but Dario did win, didn't he? He won that one. But it's a good time. We're just, you try and stay loose, and yesterday wasn't too hard because we could goof around. It never really looked like we were going to run. This is a lot harder because now I'm in my suit. I'm ready. I got my game face on. I want to go out and qualify, and now we can't. And now I'm frustrated, and it's a lot harder on me now than yesterday was.
I got to ask you finally, a year ago you came so close finishing third here. You were a hiccup here and maybe a what-if there from winning it. Do you think about how close that could have been? And you could have been the guy taking the sip of milk instead of your teammate, Dan Wheldon.
No, you can't ever do that, especially at this race. I've got a lot of respect for Indy, and for Dan. Did a great job last year. He beat us, as well as Vitor. So you can't play the what-if game. The results are what they are, and all I can do is come back. And I got another year experience. I got a better car than I had last year, and I'm hoping that maybe I can do two better.
Good luck today.
All right, thanks, Jerry.
All right, Bryan Herta trying to qualify for his 5th Indianapolis 500 in the XM satellite machine. Jamie?
Well, Dr. Punch, I'm with 1998 Indianapolis 500 winner Eddie Cheever. You're seeing him right there across those yard of bricks. And now, Eddie, you're back here after being a team owner the last few years. Successful, I might add. A couple drivers in the field last year. But now you put your driver's suit on and came back. Why come back now?
I think there were more reasons to come back than not to. I really had never left. Just circumstances were very complicated for the last 3 years with all of the engines. We were caught on the wrong side of the railroad tracks there for a little bit. I think with Honda having engines for everybody, it kind of equaled out the playing field a bit. So why not? I find more reasons to do it than reasons not to do it. And don't you ask me why I'm doing it again, because I'm getting tired of asking. Ask me so. I was holding out for you yesterday.
Hey, it's a new show. We have new fans watching, see?
So like I had somebody ask me the other day, a young girl who had never been to the 500, when's the last time you were here? Was it 60s or 70s?
2002.
Been away too long.
Yes, you have. So I have to ask you, coming across those yard of bricks, you took home the win in '98 after so many tries. What did that do for you in your life?
If you are an open-wheel race car driver, especially if you're an American, there is no higher achievement than winning the Indianapolis 500. There's such a rich history of Clarke and Stewart and Foyt and Rutherford and the Unsers. It's just an honor to be a part of that group. So for me, it meant it was just a very important part in my career, and it was just something I wanted to do, and I was very honored to have done it. I know that my face in that Borg Warner trophy will be there for a long time, long after I am gone. So that, I wouldn't say it coronates a career, but it does make it all worthwhile.
Well, you're in good company. We have an Unser, an Andretti, and a Foyt back in the field this year. Guys, hopefully, pole day is going to get underway. Jack?
Well, we're with right now the man that is the champion car owner for 2005, Michael Andretti, wanting to be the champion driver in 2006. Welcome back, Michael.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Take me back to Victory Lane when you got to swig the milk for the first time in your career, and how did that affect your decision maybe to consider coming back, coupling with Marco coming on board with your team? Take me through it all.
Well, to be honest with you, it really didn't influence my decision to come back. I mean, the milk tasted really sweet, I got to say, for sure. And at that point, I didn't think I'd be back here, really. And then, then everything else happened with Dan Wheldon leaving the team and Marco coming back. And then it's like, well, I got to take the opportunity to race with him, and the rest is history.
This week you got a chance to shake down your Vonage Jim Beam special. Is it like riding a bicycle?
It really was. I was a little worried, to be honest with you, Sunday when we went out, and you know, it was good. I was right up to speed, and car feels really good. I'm real happy with the Jim Beam Vonage car. I mean, I think we have a real contender for a win here.
Let's talk for a moment about some of the changes in the offseason, and especially since you were last in a car. The Honda engine is now available to everybody. Everybody seems to have caught up with Andretti Green Racing. How much are you playing catch-up now as a team owner and as a driver?
Hey, that's the way it works, you know. When you have an advantage, you know, everybody's working that much harder to catch up, and you know, it's just the way it is. Now we're going to be doing the same thing, and you know, hopefully the hard work that we're going to be putting in, which we've been putting in hard work, but now we know where we need to do it. We're going to catch up and hopefully pass them. I mean, that's just the way it works, especially among the big teams. And you know, right now I think for speed we're definitely hurting. I think we're going to not be a factor for pole, but I think we're a major factor for the race, though.
Michael, it's good to have you back.
Thanks,
guys.
All right, thanks, Jack. As we continue to drive the track, we did have a few sprinkles, although we have been told we may see race cars on the track now in about 20 to 25 minutes because we had just enough moisture that they're going to have to do some additional drying in the process. So as we come back to our position and as we look out our window on the world, I see no real umbrellas up, so hopefully that's a good sign that maybe we are going to be dry. Let me ask you guys, we heard Bryan Herta say today now is really frustrating because they were willing to accept it one day. What was the longest, Scott Goodyear, that you ever sat one out?
Right here at Indianapolis, I can remember it very well. It was in 1997, and we were trying to get the race in on race day, and we had rain delays. It was cold. We sat in the cars on the front stretch, thought we would actually get going. The rains came in. They canceled it for the day. Went back on Monday. We got about 15 laps in before the rains came again. We didn't run that race until Tuesday, and I can tell you, just your stomach, your nerves, I mean, you don't sleep at night. You just want to go get this race done. This racetrack is like no other as far as the speed, the pressure, 400,000 fans. There's so much emotion here because this is the Indianapolis 500. These folks down here right now, drivers, engineers, the whole group, just want to get on the racetrack. If they don't get on today, there's going to be a lot of nervous people in that garage area tonight.
Rusty, what about you?
Well, Marty, I'd say probably a lot of those Monday races in NASCAR. I remember winning Martinsville and winning Watkins Glen on a Monday, and you sit there all day long waiting for that rain to quit and hoping you can get it in because you want to go home. You've been on the road for a long, long time, but those Monday races, they brought me a lot of luck. So these drivers here, though, at Indy, it's a different deal. The drivers here are down there in the pit area. They're anxious to get some lap times underway. They haven't had hardly any practice, but they're expected to go out in the same token and run 227-mile-an-hour laps and lay down the lap of their life. So it's a tough deal today.
And we always point out it's awfully hard to hold your breath for 4 laps around this racetrack. So as the drying process continues, we'll continue to keep our fingers crossed that we are going to get practice on here. But as we head to break, this place is special. Everyone has a number of memories, and no one forgets their first.
This is Sid Collins saying welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I think it was like 66 or 67. And I was here with my brother and my 2 cousins, and they dressed us up in these Firestone race suits.
My first memory was coming here testing, just doing those first laps, and how narrow the track was.
I remember the first time I ever came here was back in '96, and to sit in turn 4 with the crowd and the noise of not only the cars but the people even, it was just pretty unbelievable.
This was my very first IndyCar race in 1994, driving for A.J. Foyt. That was big for me. I mean, just finally to break into the big time, that was a real high point.
My first memory has to just be hanging out at the Speedway Motel playing with my little race cars, wishing I was out there. I guess my dream's coming true.
Very light sprinkles here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so light that the track drying process continues around this 2.5-mile storied oval. And that turn 2, well, it's seen a lot of cars go into the wall, including back in 1975. It's a moment Tom Sneva would like to forget. Keith Jackson had the call.
Now here we come down with A.J. Foyt beginning to move through traffic, and he's running in behind Tom Sneva. Eldon Rasmussen, number 58, is in the yellow car, coming around turn number 2. And oh, we've got an axe! Sneva is on the wall. He goes into a terrible slip, and we have a fire. The engine is ripped off the back of the car and comes tumbling across. A.J. Foyt was right behind him. He was able to avoid it somehow. But Tom Sneva is in the car. He's moving around. He's trying to get out. An incredible accident on turn number 68, Tom Sneva. There is fire. Sneva can't seem to get out of the car. The fireman is there, spraying it down. Question is there fire in the cockpit? But what a spectacular flip, and the fire suit hopefully will protect young Tom Sneva as he struggles to get out of the car. And Jackie, it appears that he is trapped in that car.
Yeah, he is, but he's got lots of help there. They're obviously dousing the fire. You can't see the alcohol flame, of course, but he looks as if he's okay. He's certainly moving around. I don't think I've ever seen a driver move so easily after such a terrible accident. That's one of the most horrifying crashes I've ever seen. To have a driver come out of that, even moving the way he is. Now look at the replay of the accident. They go into the turn together. As they go into turn 1 there, you can see they're going even, going into turn 2 even. As they go through there together, somehow they touch. Now you see Sneva in the blue car low down, and he actually goes into what I would call a classic open wheel racing car action. It climbs over the front wheel of the yellow car, of Rasmussen's car. This is the type of accident that can occur. It seems to be that Tom Sneva was in the inside line. Rasmussen stayed parallel with him, but look at that car slam against the wall, burst into flame, the car disintegrating as it goes through. The suites there, the people very close to the accident, the wheels are coming off, the engine is ripped off completely. What an accident. It looked to me as if these two cars tried to go through turn 2 together. I don't think it was Tom Sneva's fault, but I can't honestly say that it was Rasmussen's fault either. The yellow flag is out, but it looks to me as if it was just a standard motor racing accident. They're still getting Tom out. He's standing up, Keith. That's a miracle to me.
Incredible.
What a lucky young man this is. He's walking.
And, of course, that was Jackie Stewart also on the call. I noticed that there is now a third level on those turns 2 suites since 1975. And did you notice also Keith Jackson did not say, "Whoa, Nelly, I understand." Keith never, ever said that on the air. All right, we've got a moment now while we're still waiting for the track to dry, and want to bring in another legend of the sport, Don the Snake Prudhomme. He has won many championships in drag racing, but Snake, you're also a big fan of open wheel racing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of F1, NASCAR open wheel, of course. I was here in '69 when Mario won the race, and you know, I've always been good buddies with him and Michael, and that's actually why I'm out here, is to see Michael, you know, make another run and get in the show and to watch him.
Hey, Don, this is Rusty Wallace up for the booth. I heard last night you were on that plane with Ganassi and Penske going to Darlington. Got any secrets you were talking about you can tell us?
Well, I got to tell you, it was great. Yeah, Ganassi and Chips asked me to go over to Darlington with them, and Roger was going too. So to sit there and listen to these two guys talk, it was really interesting. But Roger really lets loose at the end of the day sometimes. I didn't think he ever did. We had a good time with him, and he was a lot of fun.
Well, man, I tell you what, we're glad you're here at Indy supporting this thing. A lot of rain out there right now. It reminds me of a NASCAR, a drag race rain out. But that crash I saw a little while ago, Marty and Scott, that thing reminded me of a big one of these big drag car blow-ups where the motor flies out and the wheels fly off. That was a big one. I don't know if you saw that or not, Snake. It was a bad wreck back in '75 that Sneva had here.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, of course. I followed Sneva, and I think he was the first one on over 200 here, you know. So, and it was a turn 2 wall. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of open wheel racing, and I've seen pretty much all of them. But, you know what I'm really glad is to see how much safer the cars are these days. I can remember the days when they had the aluminum cockpit areas and so on. Now with the composites and all the work they've done, it's a huge difference. And I like to see some of this technology go over into our sport, too.
Well, speaking of your sport, Snake, we're going to let you get away from us because I guess you're going to be heading over to Columbus next week. And then the week after that, Memorial Day weekend, Heartland Park, Topeka. Both those races can be seen right here on ESPN2. And thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, Russ, you're doing a great job. I like you as a commentator. You're cool, man. Doing great.
Hey, fellas, wait a minute. There's one question that I want to ask the Snake. You came here to see Michael Andretti come out of retirement. We're seeing Al Unser Jr. come out of retirement. What do you think, guys? Should he come out of retirement?
There ain't a chance. No, not even close.
Jackie, there's no way he's going to come out of retirement. I talk to him all the time, and he's totally content being a car owner. He's got the cool pants, the cool clothes. He's flying around the jets. He loves it that way, man.
Yeah, look at him dressed up today. He looks like he's in the new X-Man movie or something, you know?
I'm telling you, he's still the coolest 60-plus-year-old I know in this country.
Amen, boys.
All right, let's check in with Jamie.
Well, you guys are having a great time. The drivers are eagerly awaiting, like we said, but look at this. Nobody's more eager than Scott Dixon. He's been sitting in his cockpit here, even though the car is totally covered up. Been in there for 30 minutes. How's it going down there, Scott?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's pretty comfy in here. It's nice and warm, and seat's comfortable. I can probably catch up on a bit of sleep here.
We've got our little TV screen over here, so he's being fully entertained by our broadcast. But Scott, back to reality, the raindrops are still coming down, but you guys had a very good week. You ended up 4th overall on the week. How does the car feel, and how are you adjusting to this Honda power?
Yeah, it's been good so far. I think the open test for our team was good. I was first, and I think Dan, both cars were in the top 3. The week has been a little average for me so far. We're just struggling to find that little bit of speed that we need. We've made a few changes, but I think we'll be looking pretty good. But it's a great start to the month, and we're definitely a lot better off than we were last year.
Good old number 9 have a chance for the pole?
I hope so. I think we, out of Ganassi and Penske, I think we're going to fight it out pretty hard.
All right, Scott Dixon sitting in this car and will not get out until practice begins. Guys?
Well, thank you very much, Jamie. We talked about Sam Hornish having the speed of the month. This guy, Marty Roth, has the save of the month. Now, this past Thursday in the afternoon in practice, watch Marty Roth coming off turn 2 here in his Delara. The car wiggles, goes around. As you see a different angle, watch it spin all the way around, come down across the pavement, spin back in the right direction, and he just hits us like nothing happened. Marty, was that all skill, or what did you do when you opened your eyes?
Well, there's a lot of luck involved in that. Now, when you're in a situation like that, all you can do is try and keep it off the wall. And we've been struggling with the car all week, and we think we've straightened a few things out, and hopefully we'll get out there today and see if we've sorted it out.
I know from looking at the times and speeds you've had this week, you probably aren't going to be a threat for the front row. What is your protocol today if the track opens up here momentarily to get on for practice? What are you trying to improve here today?
We're going to try and put it on the front row. Exactly that. That's what we're here for. So it's just a matter of if when we reshuffle the deck on this car, we want to get out there and see how it comes out.
Now, you've been running in the Indy Pro Series. We're told you're letting that Indy Pro stuff go to another competitor, and you're going to come as much full-time as you can here in the IndyCar. What's the schedule for the rest of the year for you?
Well, we're going to be doing as many of the ovals as we can. We're going to be doing Texas, Michigan, Chicago. Hopefully we'll be able to throw in Kentucky in there. But, we're just building our Indy program right now and trying to, put all the pieces together. We've got a really good marketing program in place, and we think we've got a lot to offer as sponsors. So the IRL's a fabulous series, and, we're just trying to build our team up with what we have, and hopefully we'll have a sponsor to do a full season for next year.
Marty looking for a little extra sponsorship money for the rest of this year, and I just suggested a moment ago, guys, that maybe he puts the bite on fellow Canadian Scott Goodyear, get a little extra cash from his buddy, the former driver here, and sponsor this car for the rest of the year. Scott's got the cash, just got to get it out of him. Guys?
He's turning his pockets inside out beneath our desk here. I don't think there's much cash there. And a Herculean effort if he wants to get on the front row as we look at these guys back in the garage area, because Marty Roth is 32nd right now on the speed chart. If he wants to make it to the front row, it's going to be a Herculean task. Hey, is that blue sky? Can't believe it. We're going to be practicing. We're going to try and set the field for 22 cars in about 15 minutes or less. Pictures of blue sky in Indianapolis. We haven't seen much of that lately, as yesterday was a total washout, but right now we're hoping to get dry and run for the pole, and we'll set 22 of the 33 starters for this year's Indianapolis 500. Take a look at the pole day qualifying order now. Some of these guys are not going to take attempts because they're second week efforts, but you have to pick your draw number, and the guys with T's by the name, they're going to have to pick which car they're going to want to run.
And a lot of times when you've had track time, you can actually pick a favorite, but right now a lot of teams have only actually ever been in one car, with the exception of probably the Penske team right now. But the first person on that list, Jeff Bucknam, has not been out in the racetrack, so watch for him as a second weekend qualifier. But regardless, a lot of pressure on all these drivers.
Let's check in with two of those drivers. Vince Welch.
Well, with Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti, we're all trying to figure out what that bright thing in the sky is. We haven't seen the sun in a long time. You guys are in the second practice session today, so how are you killing time in here waiting for everything to happen?
I had time to get a haircut from Dario, so that's why I have my wool hat on, so nobody will see how great of a job he did. And actually, we were talking about every time we put our suits on, it will start to rain. So we're just, actually right now, we're just sitting and talking, really.
Dario, are you getting anxious at all, or have you been through it enough times that patience is no problem for you?
It's not really a problem right now. You want to get out there, but every time you get ready and start building yourself up to it, the rain comes. So you just got to sit it out, wait, and we're watching the F1 race right now. You know, when it's time to go, I'm sure it'll be 5 minutes. Okay, get in the car and go. But we're ready for it.
How would you describe your week of practice? Abbreviated, I know, but how about the on-track performance?
Short. I mean, unbelievable, the lack of time because of the rain, but we're not quite quick enough yet with the Klein Tools Canadian Club car. We need to be a little bit closer to the front. We've got a short list of stuff to try this morning that hopefully would get us there, but the rain's not cooperating.
If you do qualify today, what's a realistic spot that you're looking to achieve?
You always want to be on the pole. Right now, I don't know. I mean, I've come here sometimes expecting the top 10, stuck it on the front row. Other times I've expected the front row and not quite managed it. So we'll just see what it gives us.
Yeah, Tony, you were on the pole a year ago, but you told me yesterday you don't really think you've got that kind of car. So how about a spot on the grid that would satisfy you today?
I would say the first two rows, just to keep my tradition. Every time I've been here since 2002, we started in the first two rows, so I will be happy with that. But like Dario said, I mean, right now we don't know exactly what's going to happen. After the half-hour session, I can tell you more or less probably where we are going to be. But I believe that as a team we have a strong car to be for sure on the top 10, so that's the first three rows.
Yeah, certainly on that last practice day, this entire team made a jump up the speed chart. Let's go to Marty.
All right, thanks, Vince. We'll let those two guys go, and hopefully that suit on is not a jinx, because right now we're dry and the sun is shining, and there is Al Unser Jr. getting ready to climb into the race pit or cockpit of his race car, and Koski Matsuura, who has performed very well so far this month of May. He could be a dark horse sleeper. We'll be right back. No, this is not synchronized swimming. Believe it or not, this is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that may be one of the biggest hot tubs we've ever seen. It is somewhere inside the grounds, and everybody looks to be having a good time. It's about 50 degrees outside, so they better have the heat cranked up. Turn 4 area. So now we know where the hot tub is. Now we're going to see this mass exodus of men heading towards the hot tub as I see it. All right, let's get ready here, because we're hearing 5 minutes or less, and we could have cars on the racetrack. Yippee. What can we expect? What should these guys be doing with a green track?
Trying to go fast. There's 3 groups here today. The people that came here prepared from the test, like Penske, like Ganassi, that are ready to go qualifying today, and maybe this rain delay has helped them, because the second group, your Andretti green teams, people like that are still looking for a little bit of speed, this delay has really hurt them because they've not been able to catch up to the Penskes and the Ganassis of the world. The third group that's out there, guys, is the second weekend qualifiers that they were glad to see this rain because it gave the other teams less track time. They get on track on Wednesday of next week to be a second weekend qualifier, so it's sort of putting everybody together, but the pressure is still on everybody, especially I think Penske right now, because they're expected to go fast, especially Sam Hornish for the pole, Rusty. The pressure's got to be with him right now too.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on everybody. What they're trying to do right now, guys, just get out there, get anything they can get. They're running out of time. If the rain's in, the rain's out. If I'm a competitor, I'm not going to overthink this thing. Get me on the racetrack. Give me some laps. Give me some things to talk about. Some information I can tell my crew chief about what my car is doing. Because right now they keep looking at the sky, then looking at the track, looking at the sky, looking at the track. That's what I'm thinking.
And what we're going to do right now is take a look at the practice speeds, take a look at the about the top 20 at least. As you'll know that we've talked about Sam and Dan Wheldon, Helio, and there we see Koski Matsuura, guys, and we mentioned he could be a sleeper here, as he is the number 5 quickest on the list. And there's the rest of the top 10, and we're told now we want to go to Jerry.
Well, thank you, Marty. And what's happening right now, let me tell you, down here on pit road is the people behind us here. In fact, John Lewis, the vice president, was on the radios talking with the people who are actually driving in those drying trucks and equipment, and he is being told the track is completely dry and it's ready. What they're watching right now was a little bit of a sprinkle over in turn 2, some precipitation in turn 2. That should be moving away. And he just signals me just now that we are inside of 4.5 to 5 minutes. They're watching that little sprinkle. If it moves away, we'll roll the cars in less than 5 minutes. Guys?
All right, thanks for the update, Doc, as we get closer and closer. And you got to remember that this is a very big facility. If you were with us yesterday, we showed you how big. This is in the community of Speedway, and just down the street on 16th and Georgetown, some kids outside playing as the folks in the neighborhood make a killing on the on the parking. They literally turn their yards into parking lots. If you weren't with us yesterday, we'll show you how big Indy is. Yankee Stadium would fit inside the 2.5-mile oval. So would Bristol Speedway. So would Madison Square Garden, the Rose Bowl. How about the Roman Coliseum and Churchill Downs? All of them together would fit on the infield of this 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And there's a fan. Whoa, I'll tell you what, you're going to have a big head to fill that helmet. All right, stay with us. As you heard Dr. Jerry Punch say, we are less than 5 minutes away from having race cars on the track. That's Vitor Meirelles. He's ready to go. Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we are less than 3 minutes away from having race cars on the track. And because we want to get as much action for you, we're going to take one more quick break, because when we come back, yeah, the engines will be running finally for the first time in over 2 days. Stay with us.
Now stay tuned for the greatest spectacle in racing.
There's no race in the world that compares with the Indy 500. To be fortunate enough to win, there's just no greater thrill.
The main thing to me is it puts you on a pedestal.
Indianapolis has something no other track I know of has, and that's tradition.
Ladies and gentlemen,
start your engines.
A lot of stories with Indianapolis 500, and I'm very proud to be one of the stories.
When you win a championship or you win Indianapolis, you just have to pinch yourself.
People see me at Indy throw fits. People see me have a lot of fun. That's what made AJ Foyt.
And back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that is the number 1, Michael Andretti, behind the wheel as he makes his return to the Speedway, still looking for that elusive first victory. Engines are warming up and already making his way out onto the track. Al Unser Jr. on the warm-up lane. Track is still shown under yellow, so cars will be able to go out, generate a little heat into the tires, into the motors. You can see right there Al's fastest lap this month, 218 miles an hour.
Now, the key right now, Marty, these guys are going to try to get some heat in the tires. There's no rubber on this racetrack. All they're thinking about right now is lay some consistent laps down, work this thing up to speed real slowly, because this is their main car right now. They don't want to screw up. And it looks like we're going to get qualifying in today, so these guys are being careful but yet aggressive, Scott.
The yellow laps should probably last about 2 or 3, and the yellow flag will wave, and then the drivers will actually see a green. They'll hear over their headsets and their radio that the track is now green, available for speed. And the biggest issue, as you mentioned, Rusty, is the rubber. Remember, there's a lot of rubber on this track when the cars have been running here for a couple of days, and drivers were turning their cars to the track with the rubber on it. Well, the rain comes along and washes all the rubber away, so all of a sudden now you go out there and it's an unknown with your race car, not only on the track surface but also in the weather conditions.
Rusty, you brought up a very interesting point. You don't want to screw things up. You don't want to bend this race car up, because as we found out and we've shared with everybody yesterday, you only have one engine through the entire qualifying period. So if you crack this car up, you've got to take that engine and then load it into your T car.
Yeah, this is not like the old days where we used to have 2 cars, 2 engines, all that type of stuff. Basically, if they could have a wreck right now, they've got to take the engine out of this car and put it in their T car, which takes about 90 minutes to get this thing turned around. Now, this is the first practice session right now for the first half of the fellows are going to run right now. Now, the second half, they're sitting on pit wall looking out there at this racetrack, got their stopwatches out, seeing how this practice is going, probably monitoring the rest of the guys and seeing what the drivers are saying, because this is a very, very critical practice right now.
And Rusty, to add on something that you're saying, because the engine situation now has changed, if, for instance, the car does crash, as you mentioned, and they go back and they try and put the engine into the next car, because of the allotment of time that we have here, every car is allowed to go through and have one opportunity for qualifying today. If their car is not available because they have crashed the primary car, their secondary car was not ready to go on the racetrack, and they are not available for their first qualifying attempt, and qualifications closes today, they now become a third-day qualifier because this is literally almost day 2 of qualifying.
Watch the telemetry. The speeds are going to start going up. The green flag has come out. That's Scott Dixon's telemetry, and here he goes. Look at the speed climbing.
This is a great feeling, guys. 100% throttle. You've been cooped up in the garage for the past couple of days, and this is what you want to feel. The wind rushing into the cockpit up to full speed. Now he's going to feel how the car turns into the turn. A little too quick, a little too slow is all the unknowns that we're talking about with no rubber on the racetrack. Brand new conditions. Rusty, I don't know about you, but I used to love this. Just getting out there and that drive off of the turn 2 down into turn 3, and then sort of like I say, the unknown of turning the steering wheel. Now, we turn the steering wheel very little compared to what you do in what I call those tin tops, where you have to turn the steering wheel way over there to get the car through the turn.
You're roughing me up again. I like our stock cars around Indy, but I'll tell you, what they're wanting to do right now, Scott, is feel that front end, see if there's no push, see if there's no loose. And when they got that total grip in the front and total grip in the back, boy, that's the look, that's the feel they're looking for right now.
Dixon, 228 miles an hour, 229 as he heads for the corner, 230 we saw.
And look at the throttle, guys, not even lifting off. The car's scraping along the ground because they probably have a little bit of downforce in the car. What they'll work for today is to remove the wing angles in the car, try and free the car up through the turns. Let's watch the speed going down the front stretch right now, hitting 230, 231, Marty.
You saw it again and again. He's hitting, the sparks flying.
Now watch underneath the car. You'll see all the sparks start to come out from the back, and that's really designed. The car is just touching the ground with the plates underneath the car to put up the sparks. The driver can feel that just a little bit going through the turns, and when the car comes in, the engineers will actually look underneath the car and see how much the car is scraped. Now let me just add this. If the car is scraped too much on the ground, Rusty, it's slowing the car down. But if the car is too high off the ground, then also you don't get the grip in the turn.
That's exactly right. The other thing is the air pressure settings on these cars. They're going to build and build and build. So this first couple laps, Scott Goodyear, they probably will bottom out just a little bit until that air pressure comes up. But they are looking for that optimum speed.
And the scroll across the top of your screen, you saw that Dixon has now turned the fastest lap, 2:23 and change, and all of a sudden now he's gone up even higher, 2:26.946. Wow.
This track is fast right now. We're about 52 degrees out here in temperature. The track's real cool. I don't agree with what they're saying a little while ago. It's not optimum conditions. This track is fast right now. It's green, it's cool, and it's quick.
Jack Arute, you've got more?
Well, as we continue to watch these cars start to come up to speed, let me give you a footnote to the telemetry you were reading on Scott Dixon just moments ago. They're not at all trimmed out, guys. They're just shaking this thing down.
Well, they're shaking and they're baking right now because Dixon's now gone 2:27. That is now our fastest lap of the month. Andretti right behind him at 223.9 miles an hour in the number 2 spot.
And that's the fastest lap from Michael so far this month because he was in the low 223s earlier. And we talk about the downforce level. These cars will go out there, put a little bit of rubber down the racetrack. Once they've got a few laps in to get back into the groove, as we call it, we'll be back into the pit area, take some wing angle out of these cars, start to free them up, as I mentioned, because that's where the speed's going to come from. These long 5/8 of a mile straightaway, you want as much speed going down the straightaway as possible, but you have to be brave to take the car through the turn with less downforce.
Well, Scott Goodyear right now, Hornish and Helio, they're not out in this first practice session. These speeds have gave these guys a lot of confidence about how good this track really is. We're looking at 227.27 out of Dixon right now. When Hornish and Helio get out there, you're probably going to see some 229s. I really believe that.
And the track will be better because the track will have some more rubber on it, guys.
And you can see Dixon peeling off, bringing it into the pits. Let's listen in. And, of course, as soon as I say let's listen in, they go totally silent.
Marty, that's what's called, that's racing.
Yeah, right. That's broadcasting, too.
Well,
all right.
Let's watch to see what kind of changes go on the car for Scott Dixon. The engineers have been looking at all the telemetry, all that information they see on their laptops as the race cars go around the racetrack. All that information is being fed live, real time into the pit box so that engineers can see everything that the race car is doing as it's going around the racetrack.
I don't think they're going to show us much of anything. They're covering up every wing plate as they go to work, put it up on the jacks. Let's focus now on Eddie Cheever, one of the 6 former winners here. His best so far this morning, 221.051 miles an hour. And just as he decides to turn into pit lane, we'll move on back down the backstretch, pick up the next car that comes into view.
Marty Roth. Remember, he was going quite slow so far earlier this month, down the 213 range. This will be a big chance for him to build some speed up.
Yeah, he's up to 215, but a long way to go. Let's bring in Jerry Punch.
Standing up in the Penske pits, Helio Castroneves, you had a big smile when you looked up and saw the speed. This track pretty darn fast.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, the temperature is actually pretty nice. There is not much wind at all, which normally for us it's very hard to keep the car in control. But that's it. We're going to have only half an hour, so we have to try everything that we didn't try in 3 days. Now is the time to do it.
Do you go out right away and show your hand to see what you got for pole? I mean, do we see the speed you really have as soon as you go out?
You don't have much time to not to show anything. You have to go what you think is best for the car. And according to when you keep going and warm up and feel comfortable, you're going to keep going until the limit and until the practice is over. So it's going to be a good one.
What's a prediction? What will we see from Helio Castroneves? What kind of number?
Well, so far, looking from the times that Scott already put it on at like 227, I would say 228, high 228.
All right, good luck to you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Helio Castroneves says 228. We may be hearing close to 229 down in the Sam Hornish pit. Guys, this is when it really gets to be fun.
And we're watching Townsend Bell right now as he's just getting up to speed. He was late getting out on the track. His last lap was 208 miles an hour as he continues to motor around. Let's check in with Vince Welch.
With Barry Green, who's running the Michael Andretti program, what was Michael's initial reaction from those early laps?
Yeah, reasonably happy. You know, we wanted to make sure we made virtually no change since we ran a couple of days ago. The car was good then. Now we've got a couple of little trims to do, so hopefully we can pick up a bit more speed. A little bit of traffic then, so we need to just get a clear lap so we can see exactly where we're at for qualifying.
Err on the side of conservatism here during this 30-minute session, or do you put it on the edge a little bit?
Well, no, I mean, the track could be very, very different after all the rain we've had, so we're a little bit on the conservative side, but, you know, having said that, you don't want to go too far away from your setup because there's not much time.
Thanks, Barry. Jack?
Well, Vince, you're taking a look at the quiet guy right now at the wheel. We used to call him the Iceman. We're talking about former IndyCar champion Scott Dixon, who just reported to his crew in the quick debrief, fellas, the track conditions are, and I quote, perfect. You'll notice that they put 4 brand new Firestone Firehawk tires on board. It strikes me, and I asked Mike Hull, were they going to take and try and replicate a qualifying attempt? He said, no, we're going to scuff them in, and we're just going to creep up on it. Boy, there must be a lot left.
All right, thanks, Jack, as we continue to get ready for qualifying. Remember, we're going to try and put 22 cars into the field today, including the pole sitter, Michael Andretti. Already, you saw him there. He's 4th quickest, 223. Danica Patrick, she'll be in the 2nd group. Don't go away. Pole day continues at the Speedway. Back here at Indianapolis, Bobby Rahal leaning over, giving some words of encouragement to Danica Patrick. She'll be in the 2nd group. We've broken into 2 groups in this practice session. First time these cars have been on the track here in over 2 days, as rain has been plaguing us here in Indianapolis. Al Unser Jr. on the warm-up lane. He is going back out. We can tell you Scott Dixon is our quickest so far at 227 and change. Vitor Meira at 224. Also Bryan Herta at 224. And Michael Andretti, number 4, at 223. Let's check in now with Jamie Little. I think she's caught up with Danica.
Well, Danica Patrick has her game face on. She's getting ready to go out in about 20 minutes. Danica, I know it's been a couple days for you guys, but right now the other guys are saying conditions are perfect. What is Bobby Rahal telling you?
Well, he's reminding me of last year and just, you know, having that little bobble in turn 1 and just making sure that I get the tires up to temp so that hopefully that doesn't happen. So I'm going to do the best I can, but that is the characteristic of a Panos. It goes faster the more running you do. So I'll do the best I can without putting it in the wall.
Well, last year she was quick as 227, and they're saying we're going to get up to 229. You think we're going to see that today?
Well, same car, same engine with a hint less power to make them last longer now. I don't see how we're going to do it. I don't see at all how we're going to do it. But if we can gain a couple miles an hour from where we were at, I'll be pleased. We're not a pole contender this year by any means, but we can improve.
Anything can happen, though. You got to stay optimistic. Hopefully we will get pole qualifying in today. Jack?
Well, Jamie, as we continue to watch crawling across the top of your screen, you'll notice that all the practice times are for odd-numbered cars. Well, if you're Dan Wheldon, you've got an even-numbered car. You'll go out in the second practice session. How encouraged are you by the posting of your teammates, Scott Dixon?
You know, I think all month we've felt that we've had, you know, reasonable cars. We've had to work on them, but, you know, at Target Chip Ganassi Racing, we definitely have the equipment to be able to compete for the pole and compete for the win. So that's all we've got to do. But it's obviously a very, very difficult race to win, and you know the pole's very difficult too. I think the main thing that we need to focus on is the fact that people remember the pole sitter for 2 weeks. People remember the race winner forever. So that's what we're thinking of right now. But if we can go for the pole, I can assure you we will.
But there's so much pride at stake between Target Chip Ganassi and those other guys in the cars in red with Roger Penske. How much have you got left, Dan Wheldon, inside of you?
Enough.
End of conversation.
That's all you need. Enough.
He's got enough. He's very, very confident. The other day when Ganassi was in the meeting, they brought me in. Dan's very, very confident in his car, and you can tell in his eyes that he's excited about getting this done. He's very confident. He doesn't look nervous at all.
All right, that's Eddie Cheever out there, and let's take a look at his telemetry. Right now, his best lap is over 222 miles an hour. He's 7th fastest in this first group.
Now let's watch the miles per hour at the end of the straight. Remember, we saw Dixon 230, 231, 226 for Eddie Cheever, so you can't expect to have near as quick an average speed when you're not going fast enough down the straightaway. His lines look terrific, probably the best lines that we've seen all month out of Eddie. The more miles he gets here, the better he's going to feel because he's been out of the cockpit for some time. And Rusty, we talked about the retiring drivers coming back. You and I have a bit of a different opinion, but this is the oldest driver in the field at 48 years old.
He's one of the oldest guys. He's pretty confident, though. He had a conversation with us earlier about why he's coming back. He feels like he's got equal horsepower right now, and it's the right time to come back if he wants to come back.
Well, guys, remember the oldest winner of the 500 was Al Unser Sr. He was 47 years and change. So if Eddie could pull it off, that would be another record for him at age 48.
When Scott Dixon pulled in, I watched. He went right to the back of the car after his 227.2 lap and made a rear wing angle change. Now, as far as trimming him out, Scott Goodyear, probably he's either going to get this car going faster or it's going to get too loose and he won't be able to hold on to the car. I suspect that's what's going to happen.
And that's exactly what happens. He certainly will have the speed going down the straightaway with less aero on the car, less drag, less pressure, pushing it down into the ground. But what happens is that once you try to turn into the turn, maybe you don't have as much grip with the car, and that's where the mechanical force of the car has to sort of take over. It's a blend of aero downforce and mechanical grip, and that's what the engineers have been in the garage for the past couple of days, trying to actually figure out what's going to be perfect for this weather condition.
Let's get more from Jack Arute.
Well, Rusty, you were right. The rear wing adjustment was coupled with a front wing adjustment as well, as they are trying to trim the cars down to what they call their qualifying setup. And you guys know when the mechanics start to set you up for a qualifying setup, they keep taking the wing out until they can see the whites of your eyes. For Scott Dixon, though, they're going to take it incremental pieces right now. They're not going to, at least at this point in time, try and replicate or create a 4-lap qualifying effort. They're just looking at the telemetry, checking each individual lap. They're going to make several more wing adjustments next time he comes in. And they're just, as he say, creep up on it. But they have been taking wing out of this car, both out of the front and the rear.
Well, Jack, it appears what they've done is not working right now. They've only got a top speed of 226.6 right now. So I don't know if he just can't get it through the corner, or else he's put more wing angle on the car, trying to get more corner speed, or not, Scott?
Well, the 226 actually was the average that last lap that he ran, but he did see a 232 just momentarily going into the turn, and that's the top speed where he was at 230, just a flicker of 231 last time. So as you mentioned, Rusty, before, he is going faster down the straightaway, but the turns, he's not carrying the speed through the turns, so the RPMs dip down, the horsepower dips down, and as this is going on, the Andretti Green team is working very hard, and we see that Bryan Bryan Herta has now hit a 225.1, so a gain in speed for those guys as everybody continues to aero the car out.
Well, I think we got some of the best pit reporters in the world down there right now, and if Jack looks real close, he can probably go up to that number 9 car, Scott Dixon, see if he's laid that wing angle down, so to speak, or not.
We focus our cameras now on Bryan Herta as he has just turned that 225, moved him into the number 2 spot. And that last lap, 224.897.
Now, as you watch these cars go around, I think I saw this with Dixon. Before, he seemed very comfortable driving the car up to the wall and then through the middle of the turn, through the apex, and taking the car back up to the wall. But if the car is not comfortable, what you do is you give yourself some leeway towards the wall as you exit the turn and give yourself some space. So I think Dixon looked like maybe he wasn't comfortable with the car in the turn, so they'll have to come out with a different change on that car, much as we're seeing with Bryan Herta right now. Drop it down to the apex of the turn. If he leaves himself some space coming off the turn as he's doing right there, is he really comfortable with the car? Maybe not as much as he needs to be.
You see Roger Penske, Sam Hornish, they will be in the second group. Jerry, you've got more?
If you want to see a game face, take a look at Sam Hornish. Now, this guy is totally focused. He knows he's heard it time and again. He's never finished a race here. He never had a top 10 finish. He has not sat on the pole. He was in the front row a year ago by trying to withdraw a car. He has been the quickest all week long in limited practice, and now he knows every few minutes he leans over and Roger Penske will tell him who came by and who's fast and what the conditions are. They've talked weather, they've talked wind direction, they've talked track temperature. And now Sam stands very stoically watching while his mentor behind him, Roger Penske, knows that in a few minutes when he goes out, this guy could be the one everyone's chasing. They're talking possibly 228.5, maybe 229, because the conditions right now are about as perfect as you can ask for. Guys?
All right, thanks, Jerry. You know, you'd mentioned how tough it's been for Sam. 4 times he has finished 23rd or worse in his 6 prior runnings here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. About 10 minutes away from group number 2, including Danica Patrick. Back here at Indianapolis, that's Dan Wheldon. He's getting ready to go out. We're going to stay right with you, but later today, poll day continues on ESPN2, 6 o'clock Eastern. You'll be the first to know who's on the front row. There is Sam Hornish, as he is also getting ready to climb into the cockpit. I'm not sure I need looks like a new helmet for Dan.
That's what I was just noticing right there. You know, something maybe a little bit different just to sort of help defer the air into the airbox to maybe help some horsepower, or maybe something to help the air go past the cockpit and get some more air on the rear wing. All these little aero tweaks start to come out, and there's a brand new Bell helmet.
You hit the nail on the head, Scott. I believe he's messing with some aero devices on his helmet. Now, he races a certain helmet for a long time. This is definitely something different. We heard earlier where they're trying to deflect air off their helmet down into that air duct. I don't think he's trying to keep it from lifting his helmet or moving around. This is probably an aerodynamic opportunity here.
As we continue to look at Kosuke Matsuura, he is 7th fastest right now at 222 and change. That's Al Unser Jr. He's at 218, number 9 position. Let's check in with Jack.
Well, as you watch Dan Wheldon get inside his office, about to do 227 miles an hour, look how low Wheldon sits in the cockpit. He's short of stature. Well, what that means is you need to try and route some of the air up off the nose of the car back into the plenum here, back at the top side of the car, and what you're trying to do is route it. Well, what do? The same thing that you do with wing technology on the front and the rear of these wings. But in this case, you use the driver's head as the wing, and you add the gurney flaps at the top. You try and route some appendages on the top of the helmet to route the air and get it so that it flows. All it has to flow is just a tiny, teeny bit, like Bobby Unser would say, and it's going to give you a little bit of an advantage. Got a yellow out on the racetrack. We got some moisture, guys.
Yeah, the report is we've got a little bit of a sprinkle going on down in turn number 1, and if you're going to go 227 plus, I don't think you want any kind of moisture in turn 1.
You know, what's interesting is we talk about just getting ready for pole sitting and trying to find speed and what people sort of leave on the table throughout the week. Well, this helmet is a perfect example of that. That's obviously been something that's been in the works for quite some time. You don't bring it out until pole morning. You don't bring out possibly new mirrors till pole morning. All these little things that the teams have found in the wind tunnel through their testing. All the big teams spending a lot of time in the wind tunnel, like Ganassi and like Penske.
As we continue under yellow, we can talk a little bit more about Bryan Herta. He's number 2 in our fastest order at 225. Vince, you've got more?
Bryan Herta came in and they made some adjustments to the race car, and he went back out and said the adjustments worked and the comfortable balance was very enjoyable. But, you know, they haven't put it to the edge yet. They're still fine-tuning it, but certainly much better than after it rolled out the first time. So they'll continue to tweak the car. They just took the tires off. They're going to put some stickers on and send Bryan Herta back out. But they are definitely heading in the right direction, as indicated by the second fastest speed in this first group.
One of the things that a lot of people forget about Bryan, there was 9 years between starts for him between 1995 and 2004. Let's check in with Jerry.
All right, while we were yellow on the racetrack, Sam, we got a bit of a yellow for a sprinkle. And I talked to Helio, your teammate, a moment ago. He was all smiles, knowing the track conditions are pretty good and the speeds are up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we're really excited to get out there. We feel like the track conditions are as good as they were Thursday when we were out there, or better right now, a little bit less wind. So just really looking forward to getting a little bit of time on track and hopefully being able to get qualifying in today.
Predictions on speeds. Yesterday you were talking 228, mid 228s. Helio said maybe even better.
Yeah, he always tries to go a little bit quicker than I do, but you know, I think that 228 would probably be pretty close. But like I said, it's going to really matter on wind conditions. If there's hardly any wind, that's the fastest that it'll probably be. So it could be over 228. We just have to wait and see.
All right, good luck to you, Sam.
Thank you.
Sam Hornish waiting to go out. He's been the guy everyone's been chasing all week long. We check in down with Jack.
Thank you, Jerry. And we're with Mike Hull, who's calling the shots on Scott Dixon's target chip Ganassi team. Mike, you've been going at it little by little. Once Scott told you that the track conditions were optimum, you laid the wing back. Now you've made a shock absorber change, and you've done a little bit more work to the rear wing.
Jack, you've been helping us with the setup. I don't know. We're as much as it might not appear to be with the speed that we're traveling currently, we're being very cautious. Let's face it, it's rained here for, it seems like, 7 days and 7 nights, and the track is certainly different than at any day and time when we got to run this week. And so Scott's a very deliberate, patient guy, and I mean, there's a lot of speed there for him, but at the same time, he's been very cautious.
But as much as the track conditions have changed, how should we rate what we learned in the first few days of practice? How much weight do we give it today in the run for the pole?
I think if you're good about what you do, you give it a lot of weight because you understand the changes that affect the balance change on the car. And that's what we're doing this morning. We read the track with the race driver first, and then after that we look at the information we have on the download, and then we zero in on what's most important to change to get the speed the quickest.
You know, it used to be, guys, a battle of inches. Now it's a battle of thousands.
It certainly is. I mean, that is no exaggeration, Jack, as we give you a view over towards the golf course area, and that's an idea just how light the sprinkles are. It's trying to push its way out. Not enough to shut us down by any stretch of the imagination, guys, so it's just a matter of making sure that the track surface is completely dry, and so far, I am impressed. I mean, that 227 absolutely astounds me coming fresh out onto a green racetrack. Let's get more from Jamie Little.
Well, Marty, right now on pit road, no sprinkles so far. We're keeping our fingers crossed. Bobby Rahaal's joining me now. Rahal Letterman Racing 1986 Indy 500 winner. We saw you talking to Danica a little while ago, Bobby, and I can't help but reflect and remember last year. You were pretty much a voice of reason with her. You helped her through her first experience here at Indianapolis. What are you telling her this year?
Well, pretty much the same thing. You know, I don't care how many times you come here. This day's always, I always thought there was more pressure on qualifying day than on the race day, and you know, we've been struggling with the setup a little bit this year, and so you know, we're being a little bit conservative. Of course, she wants to be on the front row, so I said, well, let's just get it in the show first, and then if we have time we can tune it a little bit more, then we'll let you go back out later on, but first things first.
Danica's certainly in a different position as last year. She was running up top the whole month, and now you're going to have to back her down a little bit. Danica Patrick getting ready to make it out on the track when we go green. Marty.
Well, Bobby Rahal understands what it's like to have to wait. Remember 1986? He waited a whole week. The race was delayed. He ended up winning with his late owner, Jim Truman.
It's hard to describe. I mean, you can take whatever you've ever done all your life that's made you the happiest you've ever been and quadruple it. You know, it's a great feeling, and it is just when you cross those bricks. I remember after my first win in the media center, one of the first questions asked was, when did you know you had the race sewed up? And I remember my response then was when I came off of 4 and I got past the pit entry, That was the only time I felt like I had it sewed up, because then I knew, you know, if all 4 wheels fell off the thing, I could slide the rest of the way.
Great way of putting it. And the man, he won all 4 of those Indy 500s right there, Roger Penske. And you talk about a guy who has dominated one facility. It is the captain, Roger. 13 total wins here at Indianapolis, 12 poles, 9 different drivers. We talked about it yesterday, guys. 31 front row starts. That may be a record that will stand for a long time to come.
Don't you wish you could just take a plug and stick it in his head and download him and see what's in that brain that makes that guy so smart on everything he does?
Not only the Indy cars, the stock cars, and now he's actually endurance racing with Porsche. Everything he gets into, he's successful at.
Well, let's talk to the man who won those 4 records. As yes, in the background, we've just gone back green flag. Jerry.
All right, one of the smart things that Roger Penske did was hire this guy, Rick Mears, who's over here and is a consultant for Penske Racing. And as he's watching the cars getting ready to go out, hey, Rick, 6 poles, 4 wins, but the remarkable stat was the fact that in 14 trips here, you had 11 starts on the front row. Why were you so good at this place?
Well, you know, that just shows the depth of the team. You know, the guys gave me the equipment we needed to be able to accomplish those numbers. And, you know, and that's what it takes around here. You know, it takes the whole package, the whole effort to come together at the right time to be able to accomplish those things.
What is the magic that is Roger Penske here at Indianapolis? We just showed his record. It's phenomenal. 31 front row starts for his teams here since the mid-60s.
Well, I think it's the effort, you know, and one of his sayings is effort equals results, and I don't believe there's hardly anybody puts any more effort in it than that man does, and you know, whatever we need to do to get the job done is what we do, and what he does, and I think that's what shows.
We got some light moisture now being shown in turn 3, so they're calling the cars back on the pit road. Hey, Rick, when it was announced that Al Unser Jr. was coming back, Michael was coming back, some people started saying, hey, could we get Rick Mears back? Man, wouldn't that be awesome? Any thoughts at all?
No, none whatsoever. No, I've had all the fun I can handle, and no question about that. It's no chance.
Now, you play a number of different roles here. You're an advisor to the Indy Pro Series drivers. What is your primary role here with Penske Racing?
Well, it really just, it's kind of, you know, whatever we can help with. You know, that's the main thing, just whatever we can help with. And, you know, a lot of the same things I always did when I was driving. You know, I always enjoyed working with the engineers and trying to build a better mousetrap, and I enjoy that end of it. So I still do that same thing, work with the engineers, work with the drivers, you know, work with the sponsors, you know, just really a lot of the same things, just no longer drive the car.
You and I have had the conversations about how good Helio is and how phenomenal Sam Hornish has been here, and it's been an enigma to people that Sam has never finished this race or had a top 10 finish. Why do you think he's had so much trouble at this track?
I don't know. It's, you know, it's hard to say, and you know, I'm sure there's been some mistakes made, but a lot of them weren't his doing either. And so, you know, the old lady luck thing has to, you know, look your way from time to time, and he'll get there, believe me. And you know, I think he's, I think his attitude this year and the game plan he's coming in with is very good. You know, I think he'll do well, and he'll get there, believe me.
Hey, Rick, for all the millions of fans watching, thank you for all those great Indy memories you gave us over the years.
Well, thank you very much.
The Oval Meister, Rick Mears, guys.
Yeah, and that game plan he's talking about for Sam Hornish, as you look at Al Unser, finish the race. The win will take care of itself. He'll be there at the end. At Indianapolis, it's pole day. We were rained out entirely yesterday. We've had some practice, although light sprinkles right now as you look at Al Unser Jr. He is in the first group, and so far, Al, 9th fastest today. The Unsers, they have done very well here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Take a look. Al Sr., Bobby, Al Jr., the total of 9 wins, and look at the performance. Just amazing. Earlier this week, well, Rusty Wallace had a chance to sit down with Al Jr.
It's hard to put into words what Indy means to me. I mean, with all the pressures of Uncle Bobby and Dad, all of their success here, you know, wanting to follow the family legacy and the heritage and all that kind of stuff. Being a little boy growing up wanting to emulate my father.
You just don't know what Indy means.
They were the dreams of a child coming true.
The dream didn't come easily, as a decade of close calls and heartbreak kept Al Jr. out of victory lane.
I remember going home a lot of days after this race going, man, I'm never going to win this thing, you know. To win here and just to be successful here is, you know, it just, you don't know what it means.
Dominating in 1992, Al Jr. won again 2 years later. But in 95, the unthinkable happened. Both Penske cars failed to qualify for the Indy 500.
You know, when I won the first year, it's hard to put into words, and now it's really hard to put into words what missing the show is about. The tears started coming before I even got into the garage, and then once I got into the garage and I saw my mom, you know, it all let loose. I mean, you know, it was crushing.
What do you think they did to you personally?
It affected me pretty big, quite honestly, personally, because 96, the split came. Each May would roll by, and it would just work on me more and more and more, that little bit, you know. Pretty soon, I didn't have nothing inside me, nothing.
You're feeling empty, you're feeling confused. What'd you do to fill that void?
I tried everything. I mean, wine, women, and song. I mean, anything I could get my hands on to fill this void.
Al Jr. continued to battle personal demons, and in July of 2002, he was arrested in Indianapolis on the charge of domestic violence.
You know, to let you know, stuff go like that was just it was a shame, embarrassment.
What was the motivation to turn your life around and get back on track?
Waking up in that jail. There's calling, you could call it hitting bottom. That was hitting bottom.
What do you got to prove to yourself?
That racing wasn't something that just happened to me, you know. I mean, I fell in love with the sport, and I loved it from a child, and you know, you can take the boy out of the races, but you can't take the racing out of the boy, and that is what has happened with me. And I just, you know, I'm out here, I'm having so much fun, and life is really, really terrific.
And as we see, Al Unser Jr. back out onto the racetrack now as we have just gone back green. And you can see his performance over the years in probably the driest stretch, 96 through 99, 69 starts, and not a single win. Let's talk a little bit more about Al Jr. A lot of people have extreme highs and the lowest lows, but most of them don't have to have it exposed to the entire world. Rusty?
Well, Marty, it's a tough one. Al Jr. is just a great driver. He's had a lot of problems, you know, when he got out of that car, but I'll tell you, in my mind, he is 100% ready. He paid his price. He made a mistake. He kind of got down in the ditch, so to speak. But right now, when I interviewed him, he looked right. He's healthy. He looks strong, muscular. He's just looks wonderful out there. And I had a long conversation with him about his car. He said, look, I'm not going to do anything stupid. I'm going to bring this car up to speed slowly. I've come here to win the race. I've come here to run up front. I've come here to redeem myself, get my name back out there where it needs to be, because I told him earlier, with Al Unser Jr. not being here in Indianapolis, it's like Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Sr. not being here in Indianapolis, which he has been. I put both their levels on the same pedestal. He's a really neat guy, and he made a mistake, and he's ready now, though.
And Rusty, you talk about not being here. You think about how many more events he maybe would have won if he didn't have those personal problems. Maybe he would have added a couple more Indianapolis 500 victories, Marty, because the Unsers have always just been so successful here at Indy.
Let's go to another man who knows a lot about Al Jr.
Well, Marty, consider this stat, if you will, for a moment. This family, Al Unser Sr., Bobby Unser and Al Unser Jr., they account for 1 of every 10 Indianapolis 500 victories in the entire history of the race. And Bobby Unser joins me now. And Uncle Bobby, let's talk for a moment about your nephew and his return. Does he conceivably have a chance to win the Indianapolis 500?
Well, first of all, Jack, I just got to tell you that the 9 wasn't near enough. Should have won more than that. Wish we'd won more than that. But I couldn't hear what you were saying there.
I said, can Little Al come back and win the Indy 500?
He can. You know, Little Al, as you well know, he had more talent than any race driver during a time that he was really fast that I've ever seen in my life. He was probably the fastest in the world at that time. And now it's just a question, after being down 2 or 3 years, whether he's going to have the desire to come back and the time. Rain isn't helping. Have the time to get back up to speed again.
And we've just gone to checkered in the first of the 2 sessions that are scheduled. Bobby, can you help me understand the sense of urgency when rain has affected what your battle plan is as you prepare to run for the pole?
Well, all the planning kind of just goes out to lunch. You know, nothing is working that the teams have worked on for so long. That being the case, though, it's not as bad as it seems, because how could you look at the windsock? It's just drooping straight down. It's really cool, almost to the point of being cold. Never could have it any better than this. So it's going to kind of equal out for everybody, but what it's going to do, the track's going to get a lot of traction. Cars are going to stick really good. The engines are going to run like a house on fire. And so that a lot of the drivers are going to find speed a lot easier now than hypothetically in the old days of the second week of practice when it gets so hot and the wind comes up and all the oil gets on the track. Because right now the track is clean and fast.
Hey guys, I'm going to give you, and Rusty, this is for you. If you ever want to understand how you drive the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Uncle Bobby used to tell us, it's like a giant flywheel. You got to get the momentum going. It's a giant flywheel. Enough of that.
I'd say you're probably right, Jack. This place is so big, the momentum's very, very important. That man right there has got so much knowledge around this place. It's unreal. We're glad to see him back.
All right, you heard Jack talk about the fact that the checkered flag has flown. Let's show you the top 10 speeds from that first group. There it is. Scott Dixon, Al Unser Jr. in the number 9 position. That's the fastest he's run all month at 2:19. Still got some work to do. When we come back, it'll be Group 2. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you're just tuning in, we are in the beginning stages of our second practice session. They split the groups into 2. And right now we're focusing on Dan Wheldon, his teammate. Scott Dixon in the first group ran a 2:27.274 mile-an-hour lap. That is the quickest so far this month of May.
Marty, I think it's important to point out why we have 2 groups going out here instead of just having one after all these rain delays that we've had. When you're going qualifying, you actually want to have an open race, or you will have an open racetrack. So when you're out there practicing for qualifying, you would like to have some clear space to see how the car will work when it's arrowed out and getting ready for your qualifying run. And if you let all the cars out there, well, then there's going to have so much traffic, so much disturbed air, you're not really going to get a true test of how your car will work on the qualifying trim.
Let's explain what's going to happen. Again, if you've just tuned in, we'll have a 35-minute practice session here for Group 2. Then we'll have a brief period of downtime, and then we will start qualifying, weather permitting.
Well, these guys are getting warmed up right now. Wheldon, this is, I believe, his 3rd lap by. Pretty soon you should see the speeds pick up. Now, we saw Dixon earlier at 2:32. Wheldon's up to 2:29 right now. His warm-up, a lot of sparking going on right there. Pressures are still down. Temperatures are still coming up, Scott.
And guys, remember, Scott Dixon turned his fastest lap at 2:27 and change very early in that practice session.
Very early. They did go in and make some changes to the car. Never came out and regained that top speed, somewhere just in the high 225. So as a driver, I've lived it before. Now you don't have a chance to maybe go back out and rerun the car before you pull up the qualifying line. So you sort of take a guess to go back and maybe see where the car wants to be. And it's a bit of a chance. And basically what these guys are going to do here now is try and trim the car out as much as possible to make it go as quickly as possible and hope they sit on the right setup just before the qualifying run.
You're looking at Sam Hornish still warming the car up at 2:15 the last lap. Let's get more from Jerry.
They're going to be very patient here, and that's exactly what Roger Penske wanted them to do. Sam, go out, feel the racetrack, get it warm, and then when you're ready to cut it loose, which he's going to do right now. We're hearing that it may be time for Sam Hornish to light the fuse.
Well, guys, while we were watching Sam Hornish, Dan Wheldon just went over 228.5 miles an hour, and Helio Castroneves right behind him in the number 2 spot, 227.888.
I watched Castroneves come by. He did have a toe when he ran that 227.88, but I do not think that Wheldon had any help on that the speed he just ran, 228.5.
See, and that's what I was talking about before. When you get a car that's out there, you don't get a true reflection on exactly what your car is capable of for qualifying in a single car format. And that's why they split these sessions up, so you have an opportunity maybe not have to deal with that.
Guys, there was no toe on this one. 228.663. Wheldon is flying.
Hornish is right on his bumper at 228.22. He didn't have a toe either. It's neck to neck between Ganassi and Penske again, just like we talked, guys.
I don't think Wheldon's going to be very happy with that, because Sam was actually going pretty slow through turn 2 when Wheldon was trying to lay down a lap, and Sam was actually trying to come into the pit lane.
Scott, let me correct you. I think that was Helio Castroneves that came into the pit lane. He was in front of him.
We're okay, Dan. I understood everything you said. Copy.
That is Dan Wheldon's radio.
Let's watch a mile per hour here. It's been building. I saw a couple flashes of 234 on Dan Wheldon, and that makes a lot of sense with what we hear is a very, very low wing angle with him.
There is Marco Andretti. He is out on the track right now. He is running at 224, the 12th fastest. Let's check in with Vince.
Well, as we're watching Marco do a 224, Michael, you were in the 224 range. How are the conditions? They seem ideal standing here. How are they in the car?
Yeah, perfect. You know, there's no wind, no sun, so from that standpoint, it's perfect.
How was your session? What did you get out of your race car?
It's good. I'm real happy with it. I didn't really get any toes, so you know that's pretty close to where I think I'll be qualifying.
Michael Andretti keeping an eye on his son Marco as he circles the track now.
And where Michael is 224.9 miles an hour. It's the 11th fastest, and son Marco is right behind him, also in the 224 range. So that's what they're saying they're going to be capable of come pole time.
Well, one thing I must add, Andretti Green Racing, Dario Franchitti, he's at 226.96, so he's bumping 227. I'll tell you, that is a very, very good speed. That's going to get him up in the front. The second row, it probably, but it's all gets down to handling this race, guys.
Tony Kanaan that we focus on right now, he has turned a best lap of 226.389. That is his best lap. And this time he comes by at 224 and change. So let's take a look at his telemetry, Scott.
Yeah, I suspect he's coming in because he was off the throttle going into turn 1. You can hear the sound just when he went by, and sure enough, look at the RPMs. Down into the 8,000 range. Watch for him to come over to the left-hand side of the track, our right, and enter into the pit entrance lane coming off of 3.
Brakes, warm up your brakes.
Interesting that they would remind Tony Kanaan about warm up those brakes. If you remember, he was the one who had a problem earlier this year, crashing on entry into pit lane.
Simon, look for Simon here.
Now the pit speed limit of 60 miles an hour still pertains even to practice.
Let's get an update on Team Penske. Jerry?
All right, a gutsy move here for Sam Hornish's crew. They have brought Sam in. Remember, these are only 35-minute practice sessions, and they are right now exactly 4.5 minutes into a rear gear change. Now, they are hustling as quickly as they can. You see Sam's fastest lap of the day, 228.220. They think he can get up to 229. He does not have enough to pull. They're going to make a gear change here. And remember, the clock is ticking, so it's pretty much a gutsy move. But Sam made the call. Roger agreed. And now Matt Johnson and the rest of this Penske crew are swarming over the back of this car. They're trying to make a very quick gear change and get Sam back out. Guys?
All right, we've got a clock running, and there are 22 minutes and 15 seconds from right now left in this session. What are they going to be able to accomplish
Well,
here?
first off, that change will be completed in about 5 minutes, and he'll get an understanding of what the gear ratio change will do for him when he gets back onto the racetrack. But it's important to point out there is no wind. They've talked about the windsock actually being on the top of the tower, being hanging straight down, and so that means there's no tailwind, no headwind on this racetrack. And if he's running out of gear, simply there's not enough gear there to actually pull him down the straightaway. He's hitting the rev limiter on the engine at 10,300 RPM, and essentially what ends up happening right now is he has a opportunity to go a little quicker with this gear change.
All right, let's pick up something that we've noticed on Team Penske. They have debuted a new style of mirror. We'll get a good view of it here. And looking at the aerodynamics.
You can see the mirror on both sides as the car is moving. It's hard to circle, but there's some different struts on these particular mirrors, and every time the cars come into the pit lane, we can see right there on Castroneves' car, they do put a cover on those mirrors, and a lot of people in the garage area have been trying to get some spy photos on them, but Penske, as Penske always has done, has made sure that the mirrors are covered up every time the car comes in.
Jerry, you've got more on these mirrors?
Guys, you know the IRL controls pretty tightly what you can and can't do now to the bodywork on these cars. Only 3 areas you can really massage. The mirror post, which we just saw a moment ago from Team Penske, that's an innovation that came from the wind tunnel. You can massage the windscreen, which is the area right in front of where the driver sits, and the end plates on the front wing, and that's all. You can't touch anything else. And so they kept these mirrors pretty much under wraps until they came out to practice early in the week. And every time the car stops here on pit road, you see they put this big black blanket over the mirrors to keep them covered up. Although the first day they were on the racetrack, by the time they got back to the garage, photographs of these mirrors were already out on IndyCar.com for other teams to see. They don't want them to see how they got them angled, and they're all, by the way, plexiglass windows inside those posts to be able to have the driver see to his right and to his left. So innovation continues, and Roger Penske, obviously, he is the master of making subtle changes to try to find some more speed.
Well, we must add, these mirrors are legal. Everything the teams are doing is perfectly legal. They're working within the rules, and they're trying different things, and they keep covering them up, which is kind of funny because I think these guys underestimate how good our cameras are and how good our pit reporters are.
We've got yellow out on the racetrack, as you saw. Helio Castroneves. Helio is going to have to pull it on in. Right now he is third quickest at 227.8 miles an hour. We've got moisture reported out on the racetrack. So as he'll bring it on in. And as we take a look at his car again, the original design of those mirrors are an aerodynamic boost as well.
Well, the mirrors themselves, the whole cockpit where actually the lens fits is actually something that's regulated, but those stands that they sit on are a little bit more open. Now you can see in Hornish's car, the blanket's up over the mirrors, not a chance to really see what's going on there. But, you know, we mentioned a little bit earlier on about Danny Wheldon coming out with a brand new helmet just for qualifying today, because everybody's looking for that last little bit of speed. And then obviously now the situation with the mirrors with Penske, everybody's looking for just that little bit, Marty.
Jack, you've got more on Dan Wheldon?
Well, when you have Dan Wheldon out there trying to put the fastest time of the week up on the board, what are the problems that he confronts? How about a radio? They had to come in, take the nose off the front of the car, off the G-force, and exchange a Motorola radio. It wasn't a case where they couldn't hear each other, he being the driver and, of course, the crew here. It was that it was not as good as they had hoped. So, Jerry Punch, what that says to me is these guys want to take advantage and be able to communicate what the car is doing and have that accentuate what they're reading on the telemetry.
Absolutely, Jack. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And by the way, up here in the Team Penske pits, give a call to Matt Johnson and this Sam Hornish crew. I stopped the watch a moment ago at 7 minutes and 27 seconds. That's how long. Now remember, this car had been on the racetrack because everything back here in the engine compartment was hot. That's how long it took them to change the gear. And they're going to take Sam, and they can look at a little more fuel and then try to get him back out after this little sprinkle moves away. So 7 minutes, 27 seconds, the gear change for Sam Hornish's bunch. Vince?
Guys, Buddy Rice on the racetrack for the first time since his accident. Of course, remember, after the crash, then the rains came. So this is the first time that this team has had this car on the racetrack. And they were very conservative in their first stint of laps just to establish a baseline, had some understeer, and now they're in the process of making adjustments to trim the car out so they can find some speed. But Buddy Rice said the car felt comfortable, and anytime you're out with a car that hasn't been on the track all week, you want to make sure that everything is right before you start getting aggressive. Jamie?
Well, Vince, we're looking at Buddy Rice right there. Now we're looking at Danica Patrick, and there's like a traffic jam going on behind her because the main fuel tank is here. Anyway, right now on Danica's car, they're making a lot of adjustments. They're basically trimming the car out, changing the gurney. They did about a turn and a half of front wing, up to 2 inches, or 2 turns, I should say. Danica wants to go out and play with the big boys. Not happy with her time right now. She's currently 17th at 222 miles an hour, the quickest of the 3 Rahal Letterman drivers. Guys?
Yeah, in fact, Rahal Letterman is 17th, 18th, and 19th right now. Jeff Simmons, the rookie, at 221 and change. And Bobby Rahal cannot be happy with that. But there you take a look. There are the combined practice times, first and second session. And again, we've talked about it. It is Target Ganassi and Team Penske. And you better be able to run 227 or better if you want to be in the top 4 at Indy. Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it is pole day. Delayed one full day by rain. We've had an off and on sprinkles this morning, but we're in our second practice session, 19 minutes remaining. And then we will qualify after a slight delay as they give the teams a chance to prep for their attempts. Now, here's how it works. They will get 3 attempts per car per day. We're going to try and put 22 cars into the field today. And then the fastest qualifier will earn pole position. Here's the way qualifying will work. Scott, one change there from normal.
Usually it's 2 laps for warm-up. It's your second time by that you would receive the green before you start your run of 4 laps. All laps accumulated together give you your speed, average speed for qualifying for the Indianapolis 500. But because of the weather conditions, they will start with a 3rd warm-up lap this weekend. And it's important to note, Marty, that even though next weekend it might be very warm, say 75 degrees, and the temperature of the tires and the weather is not a factor, because you ran 3 laps this weekend, it will stay the same for next weekend, and 3 laps will remain.
Tony Kanaan in the cockpit, eyes closed. Believe it or not, David Hobbs fell asleep on the starting grid before he ran the Indianapolis 500. It's a true story. Jack?
Marty, let's do a little quick show and tell to try and show you. We always talk about the major changes that are made, and even those are minute in IndyCar racing. But as we look at Dan Wheldon's Dallara, I want to show you some of the tricks of the trade when it's time to go in qualifying trim. You see where you can take the front nose off of this car? Well, you cover them with very, very thin tape so that you don't have the air kind of going into that pocket. You start to move back up. You want to close down the openings as much as you can because these are where the radiators are. We've already talked about some of the window technology, the mirror technology that we're dealing with. And, of course, you come back here all the way to where all the suspension parts are. You can see this is clear. It's very, very thin. And also, they go so far as to even change the decals on these cars. And this is something that's only been done just a few years ago. They close up all the apertures, and they use a thinner decal than they normally would at, let's say, some of the other racetracks. But here at Indy, they go what they call 3 mil. That is almost, well, it's almost like, I'm trying to think of a good comparison. How about if you wear contact lenses? That's about how thin these decals are on these cars.
And let me guess, Jack, it probably costs a lot more money because it's so thin.
Well, you know, the good thing is there's actually a decal guy that works for Team Target Chip Ganassi. When you take a look at this car, he works quite a bit because he's right back in Gasoline Alley, and he does all the decals for the teams, and that's where they go when they think that they've got a problem or they add someone. They say we want the super speedway thinness on the decals, and they're a little pretty tough to put on too.
Well, and we've already seen the different technological advancement that these teams are trying to introduce just for pole day, things they've tried to hide and keep back. And we found this out. You and I went up to Andretti Green Racing before the season ever started. And where it really hits home is when you talk to somebody like Kyle Moyer and he says, yeah, the championship's important, but in reality, everything we're doing right now is leading up to one moment, the Indianapolis 500.
And that's the biggest race of the year. It's the biggest race in the world's largest sporting event, so everybody wants to win this. You've heard the drivers how important it is to win this event, and the teams go to all lengths to do that. That tape that's on there right now is basically almost like a helicopter tape. Very thin, very strong, and it will stand the 230 miles an hour that these cars will be looking at. But it's attention to detail that everybody talks about, and they say that Penske and Ganassi are the best at it. Maybe Penske is the very best at it, where he takes the seams of the cars, and the seams are so close together that you almost can't even see it, so there's no disturbance for the wind to go over these seams. A little bit of more slipperiness is what they're looking for, and at 230 miles an hour, that does make a big difference.
All right, we're under yellow in case you're just tuning in, and the reason is we've got light sprinkles. You can see a little bit heavier than they were before the last time we were down for a few moments, but they still have the trucks rotating around the racetrack, trying to keep the surface dry. Hopefully this will not be a very long delay. Is there anything other that we haven't talked about already that surprised you so far in this early session?
Well, nothing's really surprised me. I think it's crunch time. These guys are definitely on the gas right now, trying to get everything they possibly can out of this practice session, because a lot of them probably know that this is going to be the last practice session they get for sure before they qualify, even if they get to qualify today. So this is a crucial practice session for qualifying today or tomorrow. You know, we talked earlier about the fit and finish on these cars, and Scott and Marty are exactly right, and Jack down are doing that great special on the Ganassi car. they're all Dallaras, and everybody thinks, hey, you got a Honda engine, you got Dallara chassis, it should be the same, but it's attention to detail. You look at, I call it the fit and finish, how smooth those decals are, and I can walk down pit road here and look at all these different cars and go, boy, this one here looks kind of rough, or this one here looks beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at this one. You can really tell a lot of difference in these cars, guys, by the way they're prepared.
You know, we talk about the fit and finish and all these things that matter on qualifying day, but again, it comes back to the delays for the drivers, the delays for the engineers. And one thing I can tell you from living through this before is that this delay, once it gets to get a chance to get going, they get 10, 15 more minutes of practice, and then we'll have a 30-minute break. If it rains in between when they finish and when qualifying is about ready to start, the track will change again. There will be no more practice. The next time the track will be ready, it will be qualifying time. So that's when the engineers and the drivers earn a lot of their money, because they're going to have an unknown racetrack again, but they're going to have to go out 3 warm-up laps and expected to go 227 miles an hour to win the pole.
All right, let's take a look at the radar, see if we can play weatherman here. Oh, that's not looking very encouraging, the area, though. We are just a little to the left of where you see the I in Indianapolis. That's where the speedway is located, and just a little light sprinkles in the area. Hopefully they will pass through, and we will get back to the final 19 minutes of practice, and then we will qualify, because it is pole day. There's A.J. Foyt, a 4-time winner here at Indy. It's not Indy without A.J. Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we're hoping to qualify for the pole and fill 22 spots sometime today. As the rain is letting up, the track drying continues, and we're getting ready to complete that second practice session. Let's check in right now with Jack Arute.
Well, it didn't take long, fellas, for the fastest guy of the first session to drop down a few spots, Scott Dixon. It's still a pretty good performance to put you in 4th quickest in this two-group session.
Yeah, it's always hard to sort of figure, what level of downforce to start on. Obviously, the guys in the second group get a big advantage. I think just the track's clean and they know where and what speeds that we're doing. So it was hard for us, but I think we got a fairly good idea on where we're at, and we can learn off the 10 car now for the next run.
When you take a look at the different driving styles between yourself and now Danny Wheldon, is it easy to interchange setups? I mean, are you guys close?
It's not bad, I think coming here for the first test, we sort of came here the same, and then we went in our own directions just because we both didn't really like the car. So, it's a little different, but nothing drastic. I think we tend to like, similar things at the moment. We'll see once we get to these shorter tracks.
Can you help me understand what the perfect weather conditions today are doing for your psyche as a driver?
I think, when you start trimming the car out as much as we do now, having calm wind, I think, is probably the biggest thing for us. But these are definitely ideal conditions for speed. I think you're going to see some pretty good qualifying speeds here today.
It'll be fun to watch. Let's check in with Vince.
Well, Tony Kanaan, who we saw earlier with his eyes closed, we can alert you that he is at least awake and alert and ready to go. But one thing about TK, when you don't have much practice time available, you'd like for the car to be comfortable right out of the gate, and that was not the case for Kanaan. I was speaking with Kim Green a moment ago, and he said TK can't quite put it where he wants it in the corner. They've hoped to stabilize the car with some chassis adjustments, and they've also obviously put on some fresh Firestones. But Scott Goodyear, here's something that you never like to hear in regards to the description of the race car: nervous on entry.
Well, I'd like to come in and sit exactly what Tony's doing right now. Nervous on entry. Well, trying to turn around and drive the car into the turn. You take the steering wheel and you try to glide it in very nicely so you can actually carry the speed through the turn. And nervous means that you're turning it in, it's reacting way too quick. You're getting that wiggle going in through the turn. Very hard for a race driver to keep his foot on the gas to drive it through the turn when that happens. They want to come back in, make some adjustments on the car, but we talk about getting ready for qualifying. If it's going to do that in qualifying, you got to stand on the gas and drive it for all it's worth.
Well, we're just at the bottom of the hour. If you're tuning in, we welcome you to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway along with Rusty Wallace, Scott Goodyear. I'm Marty Reid. Down in pit lane, we've got Jack Arute, Jerry Punch, Jamie Little, and Vince Welch. And this is pole day, as we are here trying one day after it was scheduled to put 22 cars into the field. Now, we are in the second practice session. The first group got their full 35 minutes. There is still 19 minutes remaining. You see the trucks out on the track. They are drying the race surface. We had some light sprinkles. As soon as we get that taken care of, that last 19 minutes will be flying by quickly, and then we will be qualifying for the pole. Jamie?
Well, we have 5 rookies this year that are going to attempt to make it into the field. Townsend Bell, one of them, although Townsend, you've been driving for quite a while. You've been in the series kind of on and off the last couple years, but so far you got to turn some laps and not so bad. Your team's looking pretty well right now. I think you stand 13th. How you feeling out there?
I feel good. I mean, the car's really nice, and I think colder conditions, it helps just grip a bit, and once the tires are warm and downforce. But car's good. Rockin' Republic's rocking away, and all 3 guys seem to be pretty happy, so we're looking forward to qualifying.
Now, your teammate, Ed Carpenter, you're actually standing right here in front of his car right now. He's 7th. What are they doing to his car? I think you need some of that.
Well, we'll see what it's all like when everybody runs on their own. It's tough to tell when everybody's out at once. You can get a pretty good tow and bump it up, but I think we'll all be really close together.
You think we're going to get this in today?
I hope so, man. We've been sitting around the last couple of days, and you know, I got in the car just now before that practice, and then the rain came and I had to get back out, and it's just one of those things. But it seems like that's Indianapolis, so it seems appropriate in a strange way.
All right, it sure is. Indianapolis is this way, rain or no rain, on and off. Dr. Punch?
Down in the A.J. Foyt pit, Philippe Geophone sitting in the car. Remember a year ago what a great story it was on Bump Day, final day of qualifying, when Philippe Geophone and wife Elise and their baby Nicholas were up in Babies R Us. And he got the phone call from A.J. Foyt to come to the racetrack right away. We're going to put you in a car and try to bump you in the field. And guess what he did? In 30 minutes, he got down here, came through, ran by the inspectors at the gates, and I'm on my way to A.J.'s pits. As they chased him, he jumped in the car and put it in the field. This year, he has the whole month of May to get ready. And now A.J. over here talking to some of the engineering staff and Craig Baranowski. And A.J., the good news today is you guys are gaining some speed. You're up 2 miles an hour over what you run earlier in the week.
Well, we didn't have no laps. We had a total of 8 practice laps, and we knew we got a fast car. It's just that we're not going to rush nothing. We're still way back, not on our wing, down, we still got a lot of drag in the car. But we just want to get out and get some practice. That's what's killed us.
Very few people know as much about this place as you do. Now, these conditions people are saying are pretty ideal for speeds. Why?
Well, it's cool and the track's clean, but, the biggest thing, they're telling me about 25 minutes delay yet, but the biggest thing is we just never had no practice.
All right, A.J., Philippe Geophone, you got Larry Foyt, you got a third car. Any thoughts about putting somebody there? I know there have been a lot of people come by. Your office has been very busy the last couple of days.
I know, but really 2 cars is enough. I'm catching a cold, and this is my main driver. This is who we're really worried about.
Okay, A.J. Foyt, Super Tech's a 4-time winner. Philippe Geophone. Guys, and the sprinkles are coming a little bit down here as some of the sprinkles are being felt now on pit road.
And that is not the news that we wanted to hear. You heard A.J. say that it'll be a 20 to 25-minute delay, but we'll have more as we'll step aside for just a few moments. Keep your fingers crossed. We'll get pole day in today. That is what everybody is chasing, the elusive dream, to have their likeness on the Borg Warner Trophy. We're at Indianapolis, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it is pole day, albeit, again, the rain trying to dampen our spirits. And there is Dan Wheldon's likeness as we take a look now at the history of the female drivers at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Started with Janet Guthrie. 3 times she made the field. Best finish of 9th, 77 through 79. Lynn St. James made several appearances here at the Speedway as well. Finished 10th. Sarah Fisher from 2000 through 2004. And, of course, Danica last year made her rookie debut. In fact, there is Lynn St. James back in the media center. That's the Jumbotron here at the racetrack. So she's having a conversation while back in the Hall of Fame Museum, there is the Texaco star that Janet Guthrie drove back in the 70s. Well, less than 10 years ago, Danica Patrick came to this speedway for the first time as a kid, dreaming of crossing the yard of bricks herself. When she finally realized that pursuit last year, the media attention that followed and remains put the dreams of a little girl in the spotlight. And as she still chases her first win, we look back on the Danica mania that surrounded her rookie year.
That was Danica Patrick in the 10 machine right there.
Okay, Danica's your winner.
This is Danica Patrick in the early years here. I started racing go-karts when I was 10 years old, and
it was really something to do together as a family with my parents and my sister, because my dad worked a lot and my mom stayed home and took care of us. So it was just a good way to be a better family.
I think she was born to do this, really, to be honest. She just found a passion for it so early. She loved it. There was some desire and some passion there that you don't see in adults, and she would do whatever it took to reach those goals.
When Danica was a child, her dreams of driving a race car were anything but childlike. However, Mom wasn't sure this was the right career path for her daughter.
Well, I was probably the skeptic of the family, but I always thought, you know, she could do well, but it's such a slim number of people that really get a chance to pursue this dream and actually reach it.
Probably the big decision that made her know that I wanted to be a race car driver was when I was 16 and moved to England. I left school, and I suppose at that point, if she didn't think it was going to happen or thought it was a bad move to make, she would have spoke up then.
Ultimately, Danica's racing career would get the green flag from Mom, and in 2000 it was off to the Formula Ford Festival, an entry-level series to open-wheel racing.
The Formula Ford Festival is definitely the turning point for her, I think, even personally, just going, wow, there was 125 drivers from 20-some countries, and she finished second. It reaffirmed her confidence in herself that, yes, this is what I'm meant to be, and I'm going to keep pushing forward.
Danica Patrick, the only female in the field today, the rookie on board, and she has done exactly what she's had to do. Very impressive.
We never looked at it as her going into a man's sport, to be real honest. When you start racing go-karts, there's boys and girls, and I think her skill level escalated to the levels where we felt comfortable with her competing against the other competitors. As you go up the ranks, it just ends up being men more than women.
The one thing missing from this room, though, is the Indianapolis 500 trophy. That's my goal.
Danica's chance to obtain the prestigious Borg-Warner Trophy came in the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500.
It was a morning of emotional roller coaster morning, that's for sure. It was like 1 minute I'd be kind of sad and sort of just on the verge, and then the next I'm just elated that we're there.
Waiting was over. It's now time for Danica Patrick to make racing history.
For a moment, all is right with the world. Danica Patrick leading the Indianapolis 500.
That was unbelievable. I mean, you know, she had a day of mistakes, rookie mistakes.
And Danica Patrick has stopped the car.
Close call for Danica. Oh, we've got a spin on the track. Yellow, a spin on the track. Several cars involved.
I'm sorry. At lap 188, when Ray said, we need the restart of the century here, and she went into the lead, I'm like, oh my God, she could win the Indy 500.
Danica would finish fourth, the highest finish for a woman in the 500. Since then, she has arguably become one of the most successful female race car drivers.
I think she can really break down some barriers that maybe some of the other women that have been up there haven't had a chance, whether it be just Danica's very young and she's got great teams and great support behind her that maybe some of the other people weren't lucky enough to have had they had the same circumstance. I know that Danica's very determined and she won't be happy until she wins.
And that was SportsCenter Scott Van Pelt, and there is a very intense Danica Patrick hoping to get back out, although we are under some rain right now. As we'll move off for the side for the moment. When we come back, we'll talk to Brian Barnhart. He is the man who will decide what happens. We'll see if we can get an update on the plan here at Indianapolis at Pole Day. Back here at Indianapolis, looking over towards the Brickyard Crossing Golf Course, and you can tell the rain is coming down here at Indianapolis. That is not good. We were under just some light sprinkles, but it has gotten worse. Let's bring in the president of the Indy Racing League, Brian Barnhart. And Brian, I guess what is the plan for the rest of today would be the key question.
Well, I think we're going to have to take a good hard look at it now, Marty, because this certainly is not something that we needed or wanted at this point in time. First session got in pretty good. I need to give this second session equal time because we won't start the qualifying line unless we have the ability and every intention of going all the way through the line. So I need to equalize the practice time. We've clearly lost the track, especially at the south end with this heavy rain. We're going to go have a meeting and talk about what that allows us to do and what we're capable of doing. But by the time we dry it, finish this practice session for everybody, give them an opportunity to go back and get fuel and get ready to begin qualifying. we've got some real challenges in front of us now with the weather that has just presented itself to us here in the last 20 minutes.
If you do not go today, will you run tomorrow?
Well, I think, again, that's going to be a bigger question that involves a lot of people, including a lot of people outside the league. Also certainly includes the representatives from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We would take into consideration everything, take a look at maybe we got to consider the fans, the competition, and the forecast for tomorrow as well. So we're going to go look at all our options before wrapping up things and see what our options are on the day, and then figure out what the plan is for the future.
Well, the forecast is not looking all that good, and unfortunately, the weatherman has been right for the first time in a long time. Is there a possibility we could go next week, next Saturday, and put 33 into the field?
Well, like I say, Marty, I don't want to guess right now. We've got all kinds of options out there, and that certainly would be one of them. We're going to go get all the parties involved and make a decision, like I say, that we kind of balance everything in terms of competition, fans, and what the facility needs here at the Speedway as well as the league, and we'll make a decision that is in everybody's best interest as best we can.
All right, Bryan, I'll let you get to that meeting. We wish you all the best in trying to get today in.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And tell Rusty it really isn't like this all the time. I mean, we're happy to have Rusty with us, but on the other hand, if this is his first time to Indy, I think this is the first time I've seen this much rain. I hope there's not a correlation there.
Bryan, I think it rains everywhere, to tell you the truth. I'm happy to be here right now. One question I do have, we're about 19 minutes into this second session. You give everybody equal time. I guess these guys, if we do get back another 11 minutes and that's it, or we're going to scrub everything today and do a couple more 30-minute sessions before we qualify the next available time?
Well, again, we're going to have to take a look at that, because as we sat here and talk, and I'm on the 9th floor here of the Pagoda and Race Control. It's pouring down rain now. We got standing water outside on the wings of the Pagoda, and it's just a steady, heavy rain. Boy, it just looks like we're going to be in a difficult position to try and get anything else done today. It takes so long to dry with the high humidity, the low temperatures, the lack of wind, and the lack of sunshine. The track dry process, which normally is about 2 hours, took about 3.5 this morning. So I think we have an extended drying time, and when you look, we're right back at square one again here with the moisture that's fallen here in the last 5 minutes. So we're going to be hard-pressed to see race cars again by the end of the day today.
All right, Bryan, we'll let you go. We know you got to get to that meeting. That is the view of Race Control on the 9th floor of the Pagoda. We are well down on the 2nd floor.
Thanks,
as we will tell you this. If we do get qualifying today, whenever that happens, we will have it for you. Now, you'll have to keep a tab on the bottom line. That's what comes across the bottom of your screen. We'll update you on the bottom line. It could be on ESPN. It could be on ESPN2, if we're lucky enough to get in today. Now, we'll also definitely be back at 6 p.m. today on ESPN2 with our 1-hour wrap-up. Hopefully, we're going to have something to wrap up and talk about, and that would be a man or woman sitting on the pole. When we step aside for the moment right now, we'll hopefully come back and we'll talk about the practice speeds and talk about what might happen as you take a look at them as we head towards commercial. Stay with us. There's the first 10. They're going to give us a little more time, guys. The guys that step up, Ed Carpenter, number 7.
Well, he certainly shows up.
Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you can see it is wet. The rain is falling again. Let's take a look at today's practice now, because both groups have had time on the racetrack. Again, it still looks like Target Ganassi and Team Penske.
Top 4 like it's been all week, but the surprise out of that is probably Ed Carpenter with the Vision Racing team. What an outstanding time for him in just a short amount of time that we've had in the running time this morning.
And some hope for Andretti Green.
I believe so. I've got a lot of hope for Andretti Green right now. They're looking good. They're 5th, so all 3 of the main teams, let's not forget about Andretti Green. These guys are strong. They know how to win this race.
Michael and Marco, 11th and 12th. Let's go to Vince.
Well, and Marco Andretti, just 8 laps. Could you tell much from 8 laps?
Well, not really. I mean, well, we just got a little bit of an idea about our speed, but it's hard to tell if we were in a tow and how much we were getting help. So it would have been nice to get another run on our own, but you know, I still think we need to find a little more speed. I'd like to anyway. You know, I wouldn't be happy qualifying 12th, but you know, it's 500 miles, but you like to start up towards the front. So you know, if we have to go out and qualify, then we just go out and qualify. You know, I'm ready in that way. There wasn't any surprises this morning anyway.
From a comfort level perspective, where are you right now?
Yeah, I think I'm all right. I think I'm good. That's what I mean. Like, I think I'm ready to go. If I was the next out to qualify, obviously not in the rain, but if I was the next out to qualify, I think I'd be, ready to go.
Your dad has talked about the nerves of qualifying day. As we've sat through the rain, does that make you just feel more ready as compared to nervous?
No, it makes you feel more nervous because you're just like, the worst is the waiting, Well, once you're out there and the motor started and you're on your warm-up laps, it's all business. I mean, you don't breathe for 4 laps, but it's, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not gonna go into it thinking, oh man, I'm gonna be so nervous, because I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, calm on the outside, that's for sure. Maybe churning inside, but always calm on the outside. Marco Andretti. Jerry?
Let's check it up here in the Rail Letterman area. And Danica Patrick, what kind of progress did you guys make today?
Well, it's tough with only one run, and we're in our T-car. I managed to talk the team into throwing the T-car together to try that out, and I think it feels like a solid car, but at the same time, you still have to feel it out for what's good and bad with it, and that's kind of what we're doing. We've got one run in, and it feels pretty steady, but, still not necessarily fast, but, the speed will come when we get the car better. So, my hopes and prayers are that we can just get a couple of mile an hour out of it, and just get ourselves somewhere amongst the top guys and go racing. That's really all we can do.
Brian Barnhart says he's got a lot of meetings to go to decide whether we try to qualify maybe early in the week or whether we just have more practice and go next Saturday. Which would you prefer?
I think I'm going to go talk to Brian. I want to qualify next weekend. I'll take all the practice I can get before qualifying.
I've got to quickly ask you, saw Mom here all day on Mother's Day. What'd you get her for Mother's Day?
I am sort of a last-minute shopper, but I'm a good shopper, so we went to Sephora and just stocked up for all those ladies out there who have been to Sephora. You know what I'm talking about. My sister got her some perfume, and my husband got her some plants to grow, because we basically live in the motorhome during the season, so something to make us feel a little bit more at home there.
Okay, happy Mother's Day to Bev Patrick as we head down to Jamie.
Well, Doc, Dan Wheldon is appeasing some of these fans that came out today just soaking wet, but they're hanging around. I know he said he feels bad for them. Dan, you only got 8 laps in, but it was good enough to get you on top. Does that help you at all in your thought process?
Yeah, I think we've definitely we've made gains each day. I mean, I think the Penske's rolled out very, very strong, and we've definitely worked towards them. It's difficult to tell exactly on where you are in that session, because everybody has to go out, especially with the weather that we've had. But obviously, because there's a lot of cars out there, you can pick up some toes. But I think in general, we've got certainly, it seems to be Hornish and I right now, I think the quickest cars. But you never know in Indianapolis. Anything can happen. But I think what's amazing about the Indianapolis 500 is look at all these fans. I mean, and you focus back in the grandstand, there's a ton of people sitting there, and you wouldn't get that in any other sport. I don't care what anybody says. So I appreciate all the fans coming out, and I promise we'll put on a good race for you. If the weather's good, it'll get better, I'm sure.
Hey, Dan, all your fans know that you always have a helmet with Richard the Lionheart on it. Today, you have an all-black helmet. No Richard the Lionheart. Where is it?
It's just being made. It's just being made. The sticker guy, Packy, for the team is making it up right now. So don't worry, but it will be on for sure.
So when you go out for qualifying, will it be back, or will you have the black one?
The black helmet's going to be there, but it's going to have a decal of Richard the Lionheart on the back.
All right, he will not go out, guys, to try to put it on the pole without Richard the Lionheart.
Let's talk Brian Barnhart into allowing all the fans into the garage area for the rain. We'll have to work on that one. Maybe because...
How about that hairdo right there? Some long hair. Did you cut it off after you won last year or what?
I don't know. That's got some color in as well. But
some highlights, I believe.
We'll work on that. I need a cut. Chip's getting mad at me because he says I look a mess. So
You're a mess because you're metrosexual. Chip doesn't like that too much, huh?
I'm not sure that he thinks that's cool or not, but we're trying to teach him. We're developing him.
All right, Dan Wheldon having a little bit of fun despite the rain. Vince?
All right, Dario Franchitti standing down here in the Andretti Green pits. And Dario, how about some great laps today? Speed coming up quickly for you.
It was all right. We're trying to get a clear lap, but we didn't manage to do that. I guess the top 4 in front of me didn't either, though. So we still need a probably another run just to get an idea of where we are and exactly what we need. But I'm a lot more confident than I was a couple of days ago.
Do you have something for Sam Hornish and Dan Wheldon that maybe we haven't seen yet? Could you be a major factor if we get a chance to run for the front row and maybe the pole?
I'd like to tell you yes, but I think I might be lying. I don't know. I don't know how good it is. I've come into this sometimes thinking we had a good shot at pole and not. I've come into this sometimes looking for a top 10 and stuck it on the front row, so anything's possible.
Hey, Dario, thanks for your time.
All right, thanks.
All right, the Flying Scotsman could be a factor. Practice has now been washed out for the remainder of the afternoon, and everyone will have to think about what they've got as we're still waiting to decide when the run for the pole will occur.
ESPN2's presentation of the Indianapolis 500 Pole Day, brought to you by Avis, we try harder, and DuPont Car Care Products. Visit us online now for great deals on DuPont Car Care Products. Back here at Indianapolis, the rain continues to fall again. Sounds like a broken record, unfortunately. But let's talk about what's going to come up later today on ESPN2. We will be here 6 Eastern for anything that happens out on the track. And keep an eye on the bottom line also, because if for some lucky chance we would get out, we'll either be on ESPN or ESPN2 if that happens before 6 p.m. Final thoughts, guys, before we break away here for a few hours?
Well, certainly all the drivers are going to feel better for at least getting out there and understanding a little bit about their race cars. But, you know, the field is so competitive right now. They got the top 16 cars all within 1 second. And most impressive, Danny Wheldon. He said he had more left. He certainly got out there and showed that. And I think now the Penske guys have something to think about when they go back in the garage.
Well, Marty and Scott, I think one of the big things that's going to happen tonight, a lot of these drivers are going to sleep a lot better. The crew people also. A lot of unknowns going on after before. This car is going to handle, it's going to be fast, what's going to happen. But now they got a lot of indication of what happened in these 2 practice sessions. Granted, the guys in the second session didn't get what they want, but it's going to be a better night for all these guys.
Based on what we've seen so far, any predictions when we get around to seeing pole qualifying? Who do you like?
Still, obviously, between Ganassi and Penske.
No, pick a guy. Come on.
Pick a guy. I'm still going to go with Helio Castroneves. I know he's not been on the top of the sheet for maybe all the days that we've been here. Obviously, it's been his teammate, but when it comes down to it, I'll tell you what, he can dig down deep and get it done.
I'm going to go with Hornish. Hornish is he's confident. He's the cool guy, and Penske's behind him. And I know I was a Penske guy at one time. No favoritisms. I'm just sitting here looking, and I think Hornish has got it.
All right, that's going to do it for us now. Hopefully, we'll see you a little bit later today here on ESPN2 at 6 o'clock Eastern Time for Pole Day coverage. For Scott Goodyear, Rusty Wallace, Jack Arute, Jerry Punch, Jamie Little, Vince Welch, and our entire rain-soaked but very good crew, I'm Marty Reid. Thanks so much for joining us. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next, it's the Autotrader.com drive to the North American International Auto Show. That's a lot to say. We'll see you at 6.